then the weather, and then it goes.
No, guys. For me, I will give you an A for effort. You're trying, you're being creative. Because for me, I love to laugh. They tell me I'm funny. I don't know. So I like someone to make me laugh. I'm like, oh, it's corny, but it works.
Fair enough.
All right. Okay. I don't know. Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I just wasn't attracting the right people. But I love that story, Rufu. I think it's amazing. Pickup lines. What's a pickup line that was used on you that you initially thought was corny, was silly, but it worked, and you have a beautiful love story from that. 011 883 0702 or 072 702 1702.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
All right, let's take a look at the roads. Karabo Jali, how are we looking this afternoon?
Well, if you're driving through Sandton heading towards Midrand, there's already bumper-to-bumper traffic. M1 northbound between Greystone Drive and the Betlui interchange. It's not clear what's causing this delay at this time of the afternoon. So if you have any idea, let us know. WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702. There's also slow-moving traffic driving into the Joburg CBD. That's coming from the Germiston area, M2 westbound between Heidelberg Road and the Crown Interchange. Calvin, we still have those roadworks slowing down traffic on the N3 in both directions between London Road and the Betlui Interchange. And finally, in four ways, look out for those faulty traffic lights at Witkoppen and Cedar. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
702
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
So there's a story that's drawn my attention over the last couple of days. It's playing out in the Benoni Magistrates Court. And it's the story of a serial rapist who had been operating in the East Rand, who is on trial. He's currently in the Benoni Magistrates Court, and his lawyers are arguing that his life is in danger. Lucas Piri is back in court. We're expecting him, I believe, to go through sentencing soon. But he says that he wants to be in a private cell because his life is in danger. Jabli Lembat, EWN reporter, has been covering that story. She's out in Benoni and she joins us now. Jablila, thank you so much for your time. Good afternoon. What have you been hearing in the Benoni Magistrates Court this afternoon?
Good afternoon, Khumuto. Can I just correct that previous statement that you made? You are correct in saying that Lucas Piri is alleging that, he was facing death threats.
Yeah.
He is saying to the court that he was threatened both on social media and from some inmates who are saying that they are aware of the crimes he is accused of. But he is saying because he wants to maintain his innocence, he did not agree to go to the single cell.
Okay.
So one of the threats was allegedly coming from one of the complainants in the matter, who we understand also has a partner at the prison where he is kept. So, he's hearing all these different threats from the people because, again, they are saying that they are aware of the crimes he's accused of. As you mentioned, he's accused of more than 100 sexually related crimes. This includes rape, kidnapping, the pointing of a firearm, and even forcing someone to witness a sexual act. So he's saying that he does not feel safe in the prison. However, he refuses to go to the single cell because that will make him look guilty.
Okay. And does he say who would want to, take an attempt on his life or to kill him?
So one of the things he also mentioned in court is that it was indeed the head of security at the prison, the Mudapi prison, who also came to him and told him that his life is being threatened, which is why they wanted to remove him and place him to a single cell. But he did not mention who else besides the alleged boyfriend of the complainant who would want to attack him in the prison. However, he says because this case is highly publicized in the media and, some inmates are aware of what we are publishing, it has really exposed him. And he was arguing that he isn't really happy with his face being in the media because it then puts, or rather gives the public an opportunity to prosecute him, which he argues is unfair because, he wants the court process to unfold and only the courts to either find him guilty or not guilty.
And where are we in his trial?
So yesterday he mentioned that, one of the complainants that he met was someone who he offered a lift to, and argues that, they had consensual sex because he offered to give her money. So today again, he's repeating a very similar story. He was telling us that he met a woman who was coming from work, going home, when he offered her a lift because she had, been struggling with public transport. And after he met that woman, he says that, he also offered her 1,000 rand in exchange for sex, and argues that she agreed to this act, but, denies claims that it was forced, denies claims that he had a firearm, which is something that we had previously heard from the witness statement. So that's what's currently going on in court today. He's still being questioned for his version of events. And again, he's maintaining his innocence, saying he's not guilty and that he had consensual sex with the woman.
But he faces 100 counts of sexual crimes. Is that not the case? So that's just with one woman. Does he clarify what happened with all the others? Because he is accused of being a serial rapist.
That's correct, Khomutso. So it is. So there are 37 dockets opened against him, which means 37 different, women. But what we understand from, coming to court is that in one docket there could have been more than one person. Like for instance, in the case where another person was forced to witness the sexual act. So then it is more than 37 women who have complaints against him. And the two scenarios that I was relaying are two different women. So yesterday he was saying he offered a woman 500 rand in exchange for sex. And today, a different woman, he was saying he offered 1,000 rand for sex. So we'll be hearing different accounts, or he'll be explaining the versions of the story pertaining to the other woman.
All right, let's leave it there. That's W. Lambata, EWN reporter, has been covering the trial of Ekurhuleni serial rapist Sipho Lucas Phiri, who's being tried in the Pretoria High Court sitting in Benoni. He believes his life is in danger. He doesn't want to be in a private cell. He says he's been warned that there are or there may be attempts on his life. We'll be following that trial. EWN will be covering that trial as the week progresses.
For more about 702,
Go to primemediaplus.com.
All right, so I'm looking at the TV screen and there's still budget reacts going on, a lot around the growth forecasts that Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana has revised. And Stephen Grootes joins us now in studio to help us make sense of it all. Steve Over, thank you so much for coming in.
Good to be here, Khomotso.
I see that there's a reduced inflation target by Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana, and he's reduced that to 3%.
Yes, so you'll remember the target band for inflation. In other words, what the Monetary Policy Committee of the Reserve Bank was supposed to do was to try and keep inflation between 3 and 6%. This goes all the way back to 2000, by the way, so 25 years of this target. It is, by international standards, a very broad band. Also, as we've seen that most other countries have changed theirs and have a lower inflation target. And when you do that, it's called anchoring inflation expectations. If Stephen thinks that inflation is going to be high, Stephen is going to demand a salary increase of within that band, so say 6%. But if Stephen believes that the Reserve Bank will keep it at 3%, Stephen's only going to ask for a 3% increase, and that's anchoring the inflation expectation. And so what this does now is it basically makes in law what was already kind of in fact, because the Reserve Bank had already started to target 3% at the lower end of the former band. But, and this is a slight caveat, but it's going to be quite an important one. The finance minister says we're targeting, he instructs the bank, he writes them a letter, if you want to know. I didn't know they still had letters. I hope it gets there. And they basically say, you must target in 3%, but there is what's called a sort of a 1 percentage point either side band of tolerance. It's very hard to target one specific figure, much harder than targeting a band of 3%.
Yeah.
So what they're doing is saying, target 3%, we anchor the expectation, but we do give you some leeway either side. When we say either side, we really do mean above 3%.
Yeah.
Over the longer term, the good news is that it keeps the price of bread or the price of mini meal or whatever it is, it keeps that price lower for longer.
Okay.
The problem is that the tension in this is that it also means the rate at which you, Gemotso, get to borrow money will be higher to keep it like that for the moment. So there'll be a bit of short-term pain, but in the longer term, that interest rate will follow inflation down.
Yeah.
And so in the longer term, you should feel richer. That's what should happen.
How long is longer term?
Well, isn't that an interesting question? We could speak to 100 economists on the Money Show tonight, and we probably will, and you'd get 100 different views. This is the moment to do it because inflation, for lots of reasons, has been edging down anyway. And so this is one of those moments where if you don't do it now, you don't know when or if you'll ever be able to do it again. So, and this is the drum that the Reserve Bank Governor, Ekurhuleni, has been banging. In my view, I think he's right to bang it, to say this is a historic opportunity. If we don't do it now, we'll never get to do it. I must just point out, though, that what's called administered prices, so things that come from government, how much you pay for water, how much you pay for electricity, your rates and taxes, those are way above 3%. I mean, electricity is way above 3%. And so those are still going to make life quite difficult.
Yeah. And what has he said about U.S. tariffs? I think he's made some commentary there.
Yeah, he said that so far the impact of the U.S. tariffs has not been as severe as we first thought, but he is worried about the longer-term impact. So what happens is if you're a wine merchant and you have customers in the United States, when they buy your wine, the price has now gone up. Now, at first, your customers have been buying South African wine because they live in San Francisco and that's just how they are. They might buy the next bottle at the higher price. But a month later, they might come and say, well, that's quite a higher price. I'm going to look at Argentinian wine or wherever that has a lower tariff. And so I'm going to buy some Californian wine, for example, instead. And so the short-term impact may not be as bad as you first think, but there will certainly be a longer-term impact. Global trade will recalibrate itself, and our wine trade in particular, that's why I picked the example, is very vulnerable to that. And so you will start to see the longer-term consequences. So we can't say, oh, it's not as bad as we thought. It's way too soon to say that, is his point.
And has he given us a growth forecast?
Yeah, so look, 1.8%, which is nothing to write home about. Our population is growing at a faster rate than that. And what you really want to increase as government is your GDP per capita. In other words, how much your country produces per person. And that's what you really want to increase, and we're not doing that. Yeah. To put it another way, even though the economy has grown since 2008, actually our GDP per capita has not. So in other words, averaging it out, South Africans are poorer than they were. That's actually the case for lots of countries, by the way, from the global financial crisis. But even so, it is particularly difficult here for lots of reasons, and inequality makes all of that worse, the lived experience of it. And so, yes, the growth is nowhere near fast enough. He did point, though, to some of the things that we're seeing that are changing, that will lead to fast economic growth, the fact that Eskom is always on, electricity is going, that they are seeing big changes around Transnet. And then, of course, the fact that we are getting more money than we expected. Has that ever happened to you? So because basically SARS is targeting the illicit economy, because the gold price is so high, because we hope platinum prices continue to rise, government gets more royalties as a result of that. And that means you can take that money, and if you were listening to Warren Ingram discussing a 13th check last night, yes, you could increase social grants, or you could say we're going to pay back our debt. And if you pay back your debt over time, you have a lot more money to spend. And that's kind of the plan. And over time, that leads to more economic growth. So yes, government has a bit more money. It's giving some of it to the IEC, some of it to other places to try and improve things. Some of it, I'm sure, will go on infrastructure. And that, in turn, leads to better economic growth. That is the plan.
All right, I'm going to leave it there, Stephen Curtis. I'm sure you're going to have a lot more fun talking about this later on the Money Show, and we will have a conversation with economist Sfiso Skenjana in a bit later on in the show, but it's 3:30. Mbali Zamini is standing by with our EWN. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Khomotso. Good afternoon. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana says the delayed effects of the punitive U.S. tariffs still pose future risks to global productivity and price stability. The warning comes despite unilateral tariffs imposed by Washington not materializing as severely as expected. Earlier this year, Trump slapped South Africa with a 30% levy on imports into the U.S. as part of his broader strategy to protect America's domestic economy. The impact on U.S. trading partners was tipped to cause a global economic upset. Amid ongoing trade tensions, geopolitical uncertainty and supply chain Godongwana says global growth is estimated to slow slightly to 3.2% in 2025.
Given this uncertainty, it is critical that we leverage the immense opportunities presented by the Sub-Sahara region.
Speaking in Parliament during the medium-term budget policy statement this afternoon, Godongwana called for a stronger drive for trade on the African continent.
We continue to make progress in the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement to strengthen multilateralism and regional cooperation.
To this now, the ANC has welcomed the decline in unemployment figures but says the fight against joblessness is far from over. Yesterday, Stats SA announced that the unemployment rate dropped by 1.3% to 31.9% in the third quarter of the year. The ANC has credited its recently launched 10-point economic growth plan as a contributor to this improvement. Alfara Mushwana has more.
More than 248,000 jobs were created in the third quarter, pushing the total number of employed South Africans to just over 17.1 million. This is the highest figure recorded since the COVID-19 pandemic. The ANC says while it welcomes this progress, far more still needs to be to ensure that most South Africans are absorbed into formal employment. The party has urged government, labour and business to invest in the unemployed and to create more opportunities for ordinary citizens. It has also partly credited the recent drop in unemployment to its 10-point economic plan, which was only unveiled last month. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
And the city of Joburg has launched what it calls the CEO City Cleanup Campaign, which brings together executives from companies across the city to help revitalize the CBD. The initiative encourages major corporations to contribute both physical and financial resources to help restore Joburg to its former glory. Although the Metro insists the campaign is not linked to the upcoming G20 summit, President Cyril Ramaphosa previously urged the city to get its house in order ahead of the international gathering. Launching the campaign today, Mayor Dada Morero says the program will accelerate the rehabilitation of the city centre.
We stand together as business, government, private sector and civil society to begin a process to reclaim what was once called the City of Gold. We are launching a movement today, a movement of shared leadership and a public demonstration that Johannesburg is rising again.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng with afternoon thundershowers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 25 and 27 degrees.
In Sandton, expect about a 30-minute delay M1 northbound between Ethel Oaklands and the Butlu interchange. I understand that there's a stationary vehicle there by the Woodmead off-ramp. There's also roadworks causing heavy delays in the Calvin Alex area. That's the N3 southbound between the Butlu interchange and London Road, causing about a 30-minute delay.
The top story in EWN, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana says the delayed effects of the punitive U.S. tariffs still pose future risks to global productivity as well as price stability.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
The Ekurhuleni Metro has now suspended Julius Mkhwanazi following these damning allegations of unlawful conduct. But this is the same city that protected this man for so long. This is in 2023, and yet he was still allowed to return to work. And at the time I interviewed Zweli Dlamini, who was speaking on behalf of the city, and he defended that decision. It was so wild. And I think the city must be held accountable for having protected this man for so long. And I suspect he was protected because if he does go down, other people in the city are going to go down too, probably including politicians. And I wonder how many other state employees have left their posts, or any worker, in fact, have left their companies because they just couldn't continue being part of a rotten system.
Clement Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Classics On Turf is back, where golf and classic music meet in one unforgettable Johannesburg night. Join 702 at Ekurhuleni Country Club on Friday, 14 October, as Kutlwano Masote leads a full orchestra bursting with energy, color, and rhythm. Sharing the stage, Judith Sapuma brings her velvet voice and unmatched charm to a proudly South African musical celebration. Your ticket includes delicious canopies and welcome drinks, and with a rain-proof setup, the show goes on no matter the weather. Book now at quicket.co.za. Classics on Turf is proudly made possible by Telkom and brought to you in partnership with 702.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, unfair blacklisting, or an uncontested divorce, Clientele Legal offers professional legal services to all South Africans. Our plans are affordable, and you receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our nationwide legal teams are standing by to support you 24 hours a day. Plus, all plans include a 5,000 Rand bail benefit. Join today. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
What do partners of the Gates Foundation do when facing the world's toughest challenges? They keep going. From discovering a plastic drape that helps detect excessive postpartum bleeding faster, to developing better bed nets to kill malaria-carrying mosquitoes, to researching an RSV vaccine that could save hundreds of thousands of children. For every problem, there are people who prove that progress is possible. The Gates Foundation, partners of human potential. Learn more at gatesfoundation.org/keep going.
702.
Call us on 011 883 0702.
Welcome back. This is 702 Drive with me, Khomatso Mudisi. I'm in for John Perlman this afternoon with you until 6 p.m. It is 15:37 right here on 702 Drive. And I'm taking your calls. We've got Joey on the line who wants to talk to us about the pickup lines, right? So we're asking you, what are some of those pickup lines that were used, or someone that, someone whipped out this pickup line and used it on you, and you thought it was silly, you thought it was corny, but it worked and it ended up in something beautiful. Joey in Wilterfreden Park, good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well. Go ahead.
Yeah, I used to use a pickup line. I used to say to the person, I'm no doctor, but I can definitely operate on you. And safe to say, I failed miserably.
Of course. I don't know. What were you thinking?
I tried. I can only try.
I'm no doctor, but I can operate on you. Ooh.
Yeah.
Did you replace it with something else when you realized it wasn't working?
No. I eventually got married and I had to settle down.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm happy for you, Joey. Thank you for your call.
Thanks.
I'm no doctor, but I can. I'm not even sure what it's supposed to mean.
100%. I'm just trying to figure out. Hey, it worked. He's married now.
I don't think that's why he's married. We're taking more of your calls on 011-883-0702 or your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. I've been seeing a couple of your WhatsApps coming in, and I'd actually spotted a really nice one now I've lost it. But once I find it, I will let you know. Or someone saying, any chance of a romantic breakfast? Is that a pickup line? Any chance of a romantic breakfast?
Sheesh.
It's not very creative.
Yeah, not creative. I guess pickup lines are meant to have like some creative element to it, to have you thinking, some wit,
There we go,
yes.
Wit. Yeah, I'm not so sure. Listen, we're taking more of your pickup lines right here on 702 Drive.
EWN Sport.
Talagala Mganga, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Khomatso. The BCCI have confirmed a change to how the second test between India and South Africa will play out. The action will get underway at 5:30 in the morning because of early sunsets in the country, while the order of the session breaks will be reversed, meaning that tea will be before lunch. In the interim, Shukri Conrad has looked ahead to the first game, which gets underway on Friday, and called the series the toughest challenge of his tenure.
Tough challenge anywhere in the world, and when you come to an iconic venue like Eden Gardens, it just makes it even tougher. I don't think you can compare the quality of the sides we played against to India, and this will be our biggest challenge. Certainly in my 20th match, I don't think there's been a bigger challenge. Yes, we had the final against Australia that we won, which was massive. I compare this series and this match to that final. That's how big it is for us.
Australia seamer Josh Hazelwood has been cleared to continue preparing for the first Ashes test after he and Sean Abbott went for hamstring scans. Both players were named in the 15-man squad for the opening match but had to leave the Sydney Cricket Ground for assessments during New South Wales's clash with Victoria in the Sheffield Shield. The Baggy Greens have already replaced the injured captain Pat Cummins with Scott Boland for the first clash, and Abbott's injury could open a spot for Brendan Doggett. Over to rugby, where Lua Diaga will miss the remainder of the Springboks autumn series, having received a 4-match ban for his red card against France. The team for Saturday's clash against Italy will be named tomorrow, and Damien Willemse is hoping to be in the starting 15, having missed the last year through injury.
It's really special, and I'm obviously very happy to have been playing the full season of the international season. Obviously missed it last year due to injury, so I'm very happy to be healthy and fit again. And yeah, it's been so lekker with the boys to be back in the mix, learning a lot, and yeah, just happy to be back playing again.
And Total Wolff is in advanced talks to sell part of his shareholding in the Mercedes Formula One team to CrowdStrike CEO George Kurtz. That's in a deal that would value it at a record $6 billion. Wolff, Mercedes-Benz and petrochemical giant Ineos currently each hold 33% stakes in the team. He would still stay on as team principal and CEO if the sale goes through. Tholakele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Karabo, how are the roads looking?
Well, at this stage, if you're leaving Sandton heading towards Midrand, you can expect more than a 30-minute delay. M1 northbound between Athol, Oaklands and the Butler Interchange. We've received a report that there's a stationary vehicle just as you get to the Woodmead off-ramp. That's why you have those delays this afternoon. So if you're leaving Sandton heading towards Midrand, please allow for extra travelling time. Calvin, Alex area travelling towards Germiston Roadworks still causing heavy delays on the N3 southbound between the Butler Interchange and London Road in the Joburg CBD. That's if you're coming in from the Germiston area. Slow-moving traffic, M2 westbound between Heidelberg Road and the Crown Interchange. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
702 Podcast
on primemediaplus.com.
Welcome back. This is 702 Drive with me, Khomotso Mudise, 1543 right here on 702. And we are talking pickup lines. What are some of those pickup lines, one or two or more, that were used on you that you thought were corny, that you thought were a little shaky and, you know, you were not sure about them, but they won you over? Tholakele Mganga joins us in studio. Thola, good afternoon.
Definitely the funniest one that I've ever heard. When I heard it the second time, I was just like, okay, that's enough. If I could rearrange the alphabet, I'd put you and I together. The first time, you're just like, ha ha. Second time, you're like, okay, my brother.
Because that's the thing about pickup lines, right? You hear it once, you hear it somewhere, and then you guys keep using them, Karabo.
Yes, it's your ammo, dude. If you know,
better game. That's what have better game. Let's Google. Let's ChatGPT. Whatever we need to do.
Actually, I had been Googling a little earlier. I wanted to see what pickup lines there are out there. I saw one about an Eiffel Tower. Actually, I should find that one again. I think it said something like, "Are you from France? Because I fell for you." Or, yeah.
Okay.
No. I like that one. I think that's cute. Are you from France? Because I fell for you.
Are you a Wi-Fi?
Why?
I feel the connection.
Tholakele is not having it at all. She's just not having it at all. And you know what? It's okay. It's perfectly fine, Thola. I think that pickup lines can be rather creative. I didn't have many pickup lines used on me. In fact, I can't remember a single one ever used on me. But I do think that, they speak to creativity. They speak to a person, trying, making the effort. And I think that's really, really nice. So I want to hear more of your pickup lines right here on Afternoon Drive. The number to dial is 011 883 0702, or you can send us a WhatsApp on 072 702 1702.
Join us.
Let's walk the talk.
This is 702.
All right, I do see a lot of your calls coming in, and I also do see your WhatsApps, which we will take in a bit. But let's talk about this. So, there's a report that's been compiled that speaks to US or South Africa's US dollar millionaires that are backing a 2% wealth tax. They actually want to be taxed more. And joining me for that conversation is the researcher who's been working on that report, Amir, and I hope I get this right, Amir Bagario Romi, G20 Media and Campaigns Officer at Oxfam. Good afternoon. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. I hope I got it right.
You definitely got it right, and good afternoon to you and your listeners. Just want to clarify that I wasn't one of the researchers, but I'm happy to talk to it regardless.
All right. Maybe let's just start with, these US dollar millionaires. I didn't even know there was such in South Africa. What is a South African US dollar millionaire?
A South African US dollar millionaire is basically anyone with an investable wealth of 17 million rand or more. That's as simply put as possible.
All right. So, I mean, these are the rich, essentially.
Yes.
And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, the reason why we put this, study together was because we wanted to get a clearer sense of how wealthy South Africans themselves feel about inequality and whether they see a role for fairer taxation in fixing it. So, there's often an assumption that, the rich people are always against higher taxes. But what we found really challenges that idea. Many actually recognize that inequality has become too dangerous for South Africa, and they're open to being a part of the solution.
And I see, according to the report, they are willing to pay a 2% wealth tax, but they are very specific in what they would like the money to go towards. I see social protection, education, energy transition. Mm-hmm. Is that the case?
Yeah, that's the case. Of course, there were different questions raised with regard to, if you had to be taxed, an additional 2%, number one, would you be happy with it? Yes. And if so, would you rather see it go to education, social protection, this or that? But the largest percentage of people that were willing to be taxed an extra 2% on their wealth were people who wanted to, contribute further to quality education in the country, to further social protection and climate justice.
And I mean, in addition to them having those conditions, do they raise concerns on certain fields or certain aspects currently in our country that do need funding, where they feel more could be done?
Absolutely, and we couldn't ask them as many as questions as we wanted to. We had a limited number of questions that we wanted to table with them. But definitely, I think one thing that definitely constantly comes up is that they are willing to be a part of the solution. Taxing the super rich isn't about taking away or punishing success. It's about building back trust, opportunity, and stability in the country. So if even the wealthiest in South Africa are saying that they're willing to pay a bit more for the greater good, that's something we should really pay attention to. And it's a sign that the country is really ready to move from division to solidarity, and that's a good thing.
I'm interested in the profiles of these individuals, the areas that they work in, the areas that they occupy.
Right. So I don't have an answer to that, unfortunately. I think if you look at our research methodology, we interviewed or we surveyed just under 600 individuals, and these are the results. They are widespread in multiple fields of work all around the country, and all of them own definitely more than the 17 million rand in terms of investment wealth. So.
Yeah. And does your study go into just how impactful a wealth tax would be, just in the greater scheme of things?
Yeah, so we do, because it's not. Firstly, I have to say that this is part of a larger global conversation on taxing the super rich, right? And that's something we need to keep in mind. I think around the world there's a growing momentum behind this, and we've seen economists, world leaders, even millionaires and billionaires, themselves calling for fair taxation. So it's not an isolated conversation anymore. It's part of a bigger global movement to make sure that extreme wealth contributes more to common good. But the other question that might come to mind is, what would a wealth tax actually do, right? And it's simple. It's a small, fair, wealth tax that could do critical things, like we discussed: better education, stronger social protection, and a shift from fossil fuels to renewable energy. But beyond the money, really, it's about, as I said, rebuilding trust. So when the wealthy show that they are willing to contribute more, it encourages everyone to believe in the system again, because I think so many people have lost faith in the system. And this is strength, the social contract between, I think, citizen, government, and business.
And just in the South African context, I mean, is a wealth tax an imminent reality? I know it's a conversation that we have quite a bit, but is that something that's on the cards, in the near future?
I think so, because I think the way we want to look at this right now is through the G20 opportunity, right? Why is this conversation so important right now? Because we are not really trying to, impose a wealth tax just in South Africa, but rather at a multilateral global level. Right now, why is it important now? Because South Africa is the G20 presidency, this year, so it gives us a real chance to lead. It's the first time an African country is hosting G20, which is important. And the world is watching as to how we, as South Africans, deal with inequality and fair taxation, literally because we are the most unequal society in the world, right? So what this survey really shows is, that even our millionaires are ready to have that conversation. And that's really powerful. It means, our leaders have public backing, not just from ordinary people or civil society or academics, but really from those who sit at the very top of the economic system.
All right, let's leave it there. Amir, thank you so much for your time. That's Amir Bagariromi, G20 Media and Campaigns Officer at Oxfam. Oxfam having put together that report about a 2% wealth tax. It says South African millionaires or US millionaires are backing a 2% wealth tax. They actually want to be taxed more, and they believe it should be used to fund social protection, education, energy transition, away from coal to renewable energy at scale. It's an ongoing conversation that we hear quite a bit. And I think it's going to be interesting to see whether it does become a reality, not just in South Africa. Of course, this is a global conversation.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
Let's go to the Western Cape now, where alleged Underworld gang boss Nafiz Modak has been in court. Of course, him and 14 others are facing 122 charges related to various crimes, including the murder of top cop Charles Kinnear. Joining us for that conversation is EWN reporter Carlo Peterson. Carlo, hi. Thank you so much for your time. You've been in court. Where is this matter? It's been ongoing. There's been a lot of postponements in this matter. Where is this trial?
Good afternoon, Khomotso. Yes, and so Modak is currently being cross-examined about his testimony related to Killian, one of the co-accused, Zane Killian, pinging that top cop Charles Kinnear for months before his eventual murder. Like you say, there's been various long delays in this trial, and 2 weeks ago the trial got back in the Western Cape High Court. Modak is in the dock. He insists, today he insisted that he only instructed Zane Killian to track Kinnear since June 2020. However, evidence collected by the Hawk shows that Killian was pinging Kinnear since March that year. Now, State Prosecutor Greg Vormerans today questioned Modak about why Killian was pinging Kinnear without his instruction. And Modak insisted, that he had no idea why Killian was pinging Kinnear at that stage, saying that he did have knowledge that Killian was working for his alleged Underworld rivals, Jerome Donkey Boyson, at that stage as well.
And, I mean, he's facing 122 charges. Just remind us what those charges are.
Yes, some of the charges include murder, extortion, money laundering, fraud, and all related to running a criminal enterprise related to the nightclub security industry in Cape Town.
And he's currently on the witness stand. Do we know, who the other witnesses may be for the defense?
So the defense has indicated that they will be bringing some witnesses related to Modak's testimony. However, the presiding judge, Robert Henney, has warned Modak's defense that he won't be tolerating Modak bringing any new evidence into the trial, as the matter has been delayed enough already.
And I mean, how far are we from the end of this trial? It's been ongoing for a while now.
Yes, so it's been almost 2 years now. And from what I can gather after speaking to some of the attorneys in the matter, it looks like it could go on for until the end of this year and then continue next year, when I have been told that the presiding judge, Robert Henney, is taking leave for the first term next year. And then so we're looking at possibly the trial continuing for a lot of next year.
All right. Carlo Peterson, EWN reporter, thank you so much for your time. He's been following that trial of alleged Underworld gang boss Nafees Modak. It's one of those stories really that have been so shocking for me. And there is no live broadcast of this trial. So it's really one of those that we have to follow through the reports. And Carlo's been following that story quite a bit. And it's really, it's based on this, underworld crime space that's in the Western Cape, and it's really just based on gang violence in that area. Modak and 14 others facing 122 charges relating to various crimes, and it makes you wonder, especially in light of the Madlanga Commission and everything that's been happening, where we've been hearing so much about organized crime. This year is the year where we've just been exposed to the web that is organized crime or the web of organized crime in South Africa, and just how far-reaching this is, and just how much happens, in the underworld. So much that we've heard in the courts is things that we've never imagined are actually happening. I mean, I think we all knew that there's crime in South Africa, and I think we all knew that there are corrupt police officers, there are corrupt officials. That much we know, but the extent, I don't think any of us have imagined what the extent is. And I've been saying that, in light at least of the Madlanga Commission and General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, we may have never known if there wasn't that press briefing. We would have continued as normal. We wouldn't have an idea of just how bad things were and what people are doing in that space, the issues around drugs and just how that world operates. I mean, now we're just all being exposed to so much. And I was saying yesterday that our jaws are perpetually on the ground. My jaw is perpetually open. My mouth is wide open because I keep thinking, what do you mean this is happening in South Africa, the same South Africa that I've been living in? But it's being shown and being exposed with what we've been seeing currently, both in the courts through matters like the Nafees Modak trial, as well as the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. And I think what we need to do is just keep our eyes on it. And right here on 702, of course, we keep you in the loop on that. We also help you make sense of it all with our reporters who really come and paint the picture. Because the honest truth is that it can get very, very technical and difficult to follow. Drawing and linking and connecting the dots can be very, very tough. So we're here to help you make sense of it all. Speaking about the Madlanga Commission, we're actually going to be having that conversation with Arun Singh in a bit. He's going to be, drawing or showing us what's been happening at the Madlanga Commission, or sharing what's been happening at that commission. But also, there's been more criminal charges laid against Dumsani Khumalo, who is the crime intelligence boss. And this is from a man who he implicated during testimony last week while he was on the witness stand at the Madlanga Commission. So I'm looking forward to that conversation with Arun Singh to help us make sense of whether these charges are actually anything to worry about. But also, in the same hour, we'll be having Minding Your Money feature. We will be speaking about micro lending and micro lenders and how they are saying that it's just not the same in terms of profits. It's just not profitable. And it's got a lot to do with the fact that South Africans do not have a lot of income. And so they're just not approaching micro lenders as much as they did in the past. That and more right here on 702 Drive. For now, though, it's 4 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Minister Godongwana reduces the country's inflation target, and over 100 kilometers of water pipes need replacing in Joburg. Good afternoon. I'm Bali Dlamini. Revenue is up and debt remains stable despite weaker than expected economic growth. These are amongst the main factors that have influenced the medium-term budget policy statement tabled by Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana in the National Assembly today. By lowering the inflation target to 3%, Godongwana is hoping for spin-offs that include lower interest rates that will benefit cash-strapped households. Godongwana has been in an upbeat mood today amid less contestation with the Government of National Unity partners. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
The main budget primary balance for 2025-2026 is expected to outperform the estimates made in May, with revenue from the preceding financial year exceeding the 2025 estimate by 19.3 billion rand and narrowing the budget deficit by 8.2 billion rand. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana says some of the extra money will be set aside for contingencies, including the local government elections, infrastructure projects and the Matlanga Commission.
We now forecast real GDP growth will average 1.8% between 2026 and 2028.
Godongwana says the government is also on track to stabilize its gross debt to GDP ratio in the current fiscal year.
Over the MTF, debt service costs will grow by 3.87% annual.
To further ensure long-term sustainability of public finances, Godongwana says government is still considering options for a formal fiscal anchor. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
Further details on how suspended EMPD acting head Julius Mkhwanazi abused his powers and signed off on a fraudulent deal with criminally accused tender tycoon Vusimuzi Matlala have been revealed today. Testifying before the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry, former head of employee relations in Ekurhuleni highlighted how fundamentally flawed and irregular the agreement was. Mkhwanazi struck a deal between EMPD and two of Matlala's companies in 2021, ultimately allowing Matlala's private security vehicles to be fitted with blue lights. Oren Singh has more.
The deal that Julius Mkhwanazi entered into with Vusimuzi Matlala would see Matlala donating several high-end vehicles to the city of Ekurhuleni. In exchange, Matlala would enjoy protection from EMPD as well as the city, as these vehicles would be subsequently registered as municipal vehicles but were never utilized by municipal officials. Instead, Matlala retained the vehicles for personal use. Former head of employee relations at the city of Ekurhuleni, Ekurhuleni alleges that the deal acted as a cover to allow Matlala to use these vehicles to evade the law.
These vehicles were utilized by the donor. So there is no benefit that the institution then derived from the donation.
At least 5 BMWs from Matlala's private security company, Cat VIP Protection, were registered to the city of Ekurhuleni. Arun Singh, Eyewitness News.
The Umkhonto weSizwe Party has described the adjournment of the case against Duduzile Zuma Sambudla as a delaying tactic. Zuma Sambudla's incitement case has been adjourned to next week for the state to consult further with witnesses. The daughter of former President Jacob Zuma returned to the Durban High Court for the trial today. Nhlanhla Mabaso reports.
What was meant to be day 3 of the 10 days trial was cut short, with State Prosecutor Advocate Yuri Kangai saying he needs more time to consult with witnesses. The MK party says that alone shows the state was not ready to prosecute. Party national spokesperson Nhlamulo Ndlela.
So this is a fait accompli case. What more witnesses do they need? Unless if they want to conjure up some more charges. Are they telling us that after 4 years later, they couldn't identify other witnesses? They don't have witnesses 4 years later.
Ndlela maintains the case is politically motivated and the prosecution has no case. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Durban.
Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero has revealed that at least 150 kilometers of aging water and sewer pipes in the city need to be replaced. The city has faced criticism for moving at a snail's pace when upgrading water and electricity infrastructure. Officials have earlier acknowledged that some of Joburg's water woes are caused by old and deteriorating underground piping. Speaking at the launch of his CEO cleanup campaign today, Mayor Morero reaffirmed the city city's commitment to improving and modernizing its water and sewer systems.
We are taking a commitment as the City of Johannesburg that on our side would ensure that we deal with infrastructure, refurbishment. The water and sewer infrastructure is high on our list. There's 150 kilometers of pipes that has to be replaced in the city, and we will be doing that work, both water and sewer.
And US President Donald Trump says he had an obligation to sue the BBC over a misleading speech edit. Trump made the statements during a Fox News interview. It came just hours after Trump's lawyers threatened the British broadcaster with a $1 billion lawsuit. Earlier this week, the BBC apologized for giving the impression that Trump had directly urged violent action on the US Capitol in 2021. The edited speech was contained in a documentary that aired in October last year. The BBC Director General and the organization's top news executive resigned on Sunday over the controversy. Gold is trading at $4,124.98 an ounce. The rand is 17.13 to the dollar, 22.48 to the pound, 19.83 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $65.16 a barrel.
Leaving Sandton heading towards Midrand, expect about a 30-minute delay. This is on the M1 northbound between Ethel Oakland and the Butlu interchange. Also in the Calvin Alex area, travelling towards Germiston roadworks causing huge delays. N3 southbound between the Butlu interchange and London Road, and in Kempton Park there's bumper-to-bumper traffic. R24 westbound between the R21 and Barbara Road.
In your sport, South Africa confident ahead of their test series against India. Josh Hazelwood given the okay for Ashes opener following hamstring scare, and Toto Wolff in talks to sell part of his Mercedes F1 shares.
A fine start to Thursday in Gauteng tomorrow with afternoon thundershowers expected. Johannesburg dropping to overnight lows of 17 degrees, peaking at 32. Pretoria 18 and 32 and Vereeniging 15 and 30 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. Revenue is up and debt remains stable. These are amongst the main factors that have influenced the medium-term budget policy statement tabled today.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Live
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7.
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Welcome back. This is 702 Drive with me, Khomotso Mudisi. I'm in for John Perlman this afternoon, and I'm with you until 6 p.m. It is 8 minutes past 4, and for the second hour of the show, we're going to be going to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Arun Singh will come and share with us what's been happening at the Commission this afternoon. There's also been a development regarding crime intelligence head Dumisani Khumalo. There's more charges laid against him, and Arun will help us make sense of those too. And then in a bit, we'll be speaking about micro-lending in South Africa and how the players in that space say they aren't making as much as they were. It seems that South Africans are not approaching micro-lenders as much as they did, and they attribute this to having less money, a disposable income that South Africans don't have anymore because of the economic situation. So we'll be having that conversation with Paul Rulofse, a certified financial planner, in just a bit. I've been reading some of your comments right here on the WhatsApp line, and some of you have been saying that I've been living in dreamland. Of course, this is in response to my commentary on what's been happening in the country in terms of the gangs and organized crime. I did say a little earlier on that I think we all knew and we all know that the crime situation in South Africa is bad, but the extent, I'm not so sure. I think these commissions of inquiry are really opening my eyes up to just how deep the rot goes. Of course, this is still allegations that are being made, but of course they're being corroborated at commissions like the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, as well as the ad hoc committee in Parliament. But thank you so much for your comments. Someone here saying you are living in a dreamland if you don't think it's as bad as it is. Look at the deteriorating situation we've had with just about every SOE. And someone else says, well, I don't know which South Africa you've been living in. Listen, I mean, I don't know if we all know and are all exposed to the extent of the corruption and the crime. I'm not so sure. If you have been, maybe you're more awake than most of us have been. But thank you for your comments. Keep them coming. The WhatsApp number is 072-702-1702. And the number to dial is 011-883-0702.
702.
Call us on 011 883 0702.
So we've been having a conversation on pickup lines, and what are some of those that you've heard that worked on you? Someone came up to you and, gave you a bit of a pickup line, caused you to smile, had you giggling a bit, and won their way to your heart. Mornay and Santon, you've got a pickup line. Welcome. Thank you so much for your call.
Khomotso, thank you very much.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so it's not really a pickup line. I when I was young and single, I used to play on women's Achilles heel, their downfall.
Yeah. What would you say?
Okay, so what is women's big downfall?
I don't know. What's our downfall? I don't know. What's our downfall?
Curiosity.
Okay.
Huh?
Is it?
So what I used to do when I would go to a club or to a pub and I see somebody that I like, especially this works if there's other guys around her. So you want to get her away from them or otherwise approach her.
Okay.
So all that I used to do is I would just go up to her, confident, and say, "Excuse me, what is your name?" And then she would tell me her name, and I would shake her hand and say, "Thank you very much. Have a good evening." Then go back to my table. It is time, 5 minutes. She'll be at my table and ask me, "Why did you ask me my name?" And then the conversation starts.
Smooth operator.
Clever. Grabbing the attention, luring her.
And did it work for you?
Oh yes, plenty of times. I actually taught a standard 4 kid that we were at a family gathering, and he saw a girl that he liked. Which was not part of our group. And he's like, "I like that girl." I'm like, "Okay, do this. Swim to her and ask her what is her name. Say thank you very much, shake her hand, and swim back to me. And then I'll tell you what to do from there." And they dated for about 3 years afterwards.
Sure. Okay. All right. I hope our listeners who are struggling with the pickup lines would take notes. Thank you there, Monet from Santon. I think that's smart, eh?
I like that one. In my next life, I'm going to use that one.
Yeah, you can't use it now. But I also think you must be really handsome, because if you're not handsome or charming or good looking, if you were to do that, and then I wouldn't respond. Why?
You'd be like, "Oh, what was that all about?
Yeah,
This
why
guy
do you
is
want my name?"
weird."
Yeah, but if you're good looking, you smell good, you look nice, you're put together, I can see how that could work. All right, we're taking more of your voice notes and your calls on pickup lines. The number to dial is 011 883 0702 or 072 702 1702.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. You could save on your car insurance. And if you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Karabo, how are the roads looking?
Well, at this stage, if you're leaving Santon heading towards Midrand, you can still expect more than a 30-minute delay. This is on the M1 northbound between Ethel Oaklands and the Butlu Interchange due to a stationary vehicle. Further up in the Midrand area, N1 North, also slow-moving traffic. This is between Ellendale and New Road. Calvin, Alex roadworks causing huge delays. Heading towards Bedford View, Germiston area, N3 South, between the Butlu Interchange and London Road. Travelling into the Joburg CBD coming from Germiston. Slow-moving traffic. M2 West between Heidelberg Road and the Crown Interchange. And finally in Kempton Park, traffic is sluggish on the R24 westbound, and that's between the R21 and Barbara Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance pointsmen can't help you choose the perfect anniversary gift, but they can ease the traffic congestion so you get into the dinner on time to make the special celebration. With the Outsurance pointsmen on the roads for the past 20 years, we can all get where we need to be quickly and safely. Outsurance really means it when they say you always get something out. In proud partnership with 702, show them some love online using hashtag pointsmanlove, licensed insurer and FSP.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
Michael Komape, Oratile Dilwane, Langalam Viki, Lumkam Ketwa, Omari Monono. These are innocent children whose lives were tragically cut short because they fell into pit toilets.
Little Unatlebo lost his life last year. One of the last images the family said that they have of Unatlebo is a nurse pumping his stomach that was bloated and filled with feces and urine from the pit toilet he had fallen into.
Oh, Risha, just
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
This Thursday marks the first day of the second annual National Construction Summit hosted by the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure and the Construction Industry Development Board. The Clement Mayatala Show on 702 will be live from the summit, sharing updates and more intel throughout the show. If you work in construction or are simply interested in finding out how the government is planning to solve issues affecting South African infrastructure, then don't miss it. The Clement Mayatala Show, live from the second annual National Construction Summit, this Thursday on 702.
For 3 consecutive years, Nedbank has been recognized as the best investment bank in South Africa at the Global Banking and Finance Review Awards. Whether helping clients navigate cross-border risks or building financing frameworks that support market reform, Nedbank is a partner in more than just capital. We're part of the architecture supporting Africa's renewable energy future. See money differently. Nedbank. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. Betway is taking you to dizzying new heights in one of the world's most popular games, Aviator. Place your bets and watch the multiplier climb higher and higher. Pick the right time to cash out and stand to win millions on a single bet. It's all possible from the palm of your hand. Get way more only at Betway. Betway is licensed and regulated by the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board. No persons under the age of 18 are permitted to gamble. South African Responsible Gambling Program toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. Winners know when to stop.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
702 Podcast.
On primemediaplus.com.
Welcome back. This is a 702 Drive with me, Khomotso Modise, in for John Perlman. It is 18 minutes past 4. Let's shift our focus to this story now. So we want to get an update on the Malanga Commission. But before we do, there's more charges that's been laid against crime intelligence boss Dumisani Khumalo. You remember that he is currently embattled. He's facing charges in the Pretoria Magistrates Court that are linked to the appointment of a 30-year-old woman, Dineo Mukwele, to an executive role despite not having any prior police experience. But today, more charges have been laid against him. The cases are opened by Stuart Sharnick, a close associate of suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibia. And joining us here in studio is EWN's Oren Singh, who's been following that story. He had a sit-down with Sharnick a short while ago. So, Oren, maybe let's just start with what these charges are and what are they based on?
So the charges essentially, Khomotso, are related to fraud, but also defamation. And we questioned Mr. Sharnick as to why he would open a case of fraud against Dumisani Khumalo. This isn't in reference to the testimony that Khumalo had put forward to the Malanga Commission last week, in which he mentioned Mr. Sharnick and his convictions. He's got 18 convictions against his name, and he had his face feature as part of his evidence in the testimony that he put forward last week. And so Mr. Sharnik went to the Brooklyn police station in Pretoria this morning, opened up a case of defamation. But he says the case of fraud, the way he explains it is that a normal member of the public cannot open a case of fraud against an official when it's got to do with something like a commission. Perjury. You can't open a case of perjury against an official. You have to open a case of fraud, which then will be investigated and at a later stage changed to perjury, as well as defeating the ends of justice. According to him, and he sought senior counsel on this, he couldn't open a case of perjury against Dumisani Khumalo. And so he opened a case of fraud, which will be investigated by SAPS and possibly later changed to perjury, as well as defeating the ends of justice. He claims that Khumalo lied to the Madlanga Commission. He claims that he was not convicted on any counts of carjacking, which Khumalo had referenced in his testimony. And he says he has proof to prove this otherwise. And so those are the cases that he opened this morning.
Maybe let's just take a step back. Last week, what exactly did Dumisani Khumalo say? Because I remember him making allegations about the charges against him, but did he take it any further than that?
Well, Dumisani Khumalo essentially drew links, firstly raising these criminal charges that Stuart Sharnik is facing, and then to try and draw links between Stuart Sharnik and suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya. And he referenced the raid at Sibiya's premises almost a month ago, where we saw Sibiya jump into this Toyota Hilux vehicle and drive off from his home. But then we also saw CCTV stills of this Toyota Hilux throughout the city of Johannesburg, and it was alleged that Shadrack Sibiya was using that vehicle. But when Khumalo and his team looked at who that vehicle is registered to, popped up the name Stuart Sharnik. And so they were trying to draw the links that Shadrack Sibiya, his close protector, is Stuart Sharnik, and this is a criminal that Shadrack Sibiya even took to Parliament when he testified before the ad hoc committee. Yeah. And we saw this picture of Shadrack Sibiya, and behind him was Stuart Sharnik. And so those were the links that Khumalo was kind of drawing between the pair and suggesting that this is a criminal with 18 convictions against his name. How could he be protecting the Deputy National Police Commissioner?
Yeah. And what exactly does Sharnik say the lie is? Apart from the carjacking charges, where's the lie?
Essentially, it rests with the carjacking charges. That's what he claims to us, and that's what he told the media at the Brooklyn police station this morning, that according to him, he has gone to the local criminal record center and he has got confirmation that all of his convictions against his name, none whatsoever refer to carjacking. And that Khumalo essentially lied under oath at the Madlanga Commission, which amounts to perjury. And it's a serious charge at the end of the day if he can prove it, Khumotso. I think a lot of what's been happening of late is we've seen cases being opened left, right and center against Dumisani Khumalo, the National Police Commissioner, Fani Masimolo, in reference to Adil Adams and what he's opened in Cape Town. And a lot of what the allegations are has to still be proven and has to undergo that process. So we'll wait and see what happens regarding that.
And then, of course, the Madlanga Commission continues.
Madlanga Commission continues. We saw the former head of employee relations, Ekurhuleni Ngiza, continue with his testimony today. Some interesting things coming out towards the end of this afternoon, where he suggested that two senior officials within the city of Ekurhuleni, the head of legal and the head of HR, who were tasked to initiate disciplinary action against Julius Mkhwanazi. Julius Mkhwanazi, of course, is the man who entered into these unlawful agreement with Vusimuzi Cat Matlala within EMPD. And he claims that they stopped disciplinary action against Mkhwanazi, and 2 weeks later, after stopping this disciplinary action, they were given raises of 600,000 Rand each by the city manager, Imogen Mashazi. So allegations of nepotism going on there, which obviously still have to be proven. We have to have the people that have been implicated, such as Julius Mkhwanazi and Imogen Mashazi, still appear before the commission to defend themselves.
All right, let's leave it there. That's Arun Singh from Eyewitness News, helping us make sense of it all. That allegation, or the claim by Stuart Sharnik that he had to open a fraud charge because he cannot open a perjury charge. I wonder if that's true. Never heard of it before. If you are a legal mind or someone who works in that space, let us know. We'd love to hear from you.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
So some great news on the health front in South Africa. It's South Africa, BioVac, receiving approval from the South African Health Products Authority to begin clinical trials for its oral cholera vaccine. And it's a really lovely story because it means that South Africa will not be so reliant on international pharmaceuticals for this cholera vaccine. Health Minister Aaron Motsoaledi announcing a breakthrough in the clinical trial for that oral cholera vaccine. And joining us for that conversation is Dr. Morena Makwana, the CEO at BioVac. Thank you so much for your time, Doctor. Just speak to us on the process, that has been carrying out before we got to this point. I mean, it's great news for South Africa. What have the steps to getting this point been?
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's really a great momentous occasion, not only for our company, I must say, I think for the country, and I think it's important that many people recognize what this actually means. South Africa used to manufacture vaccines during the apartheid days in the 50s and the 60s. Towards the end of apartheid, no vaccine was being produced locally. So BioVac, our company, has been at pains trying to revive vaccine manufacture. And this is the first time that a vaccine has been developed locally, and it's now going to clinical trials. It's important because, a lot of the manufacture that we used to talk about historically was when we bring in the already made ingredients that we only put in these small bottles that we call vials. But now, this is a product that was developed and taken us about 3 years to get it to where we are, hence we made the announcement. So it's a very, very proud moment, I think, for the country.
Congratulations for that. And just how significant is this move for South Africa, particularly when it comes to cholera?
Yeah. So I think firstly, I'm sure your viewers will recall that, well, maybe say your older viewers, maybe let me start there. Your older viewers will recall, I'm sure when they grew up, that the name cholera was always there. You'd either be shouted at as a small child to say, don't play in dirty water, you'll get cholera. That's how I remember cholera even before I got into this industry. But of late, South Africa unfortunately has had outbreaks. I think the past year or more in Hammanskraal, I think we had some hotspots, and also in the Eastern Cape.
Yeah.
Some of them were also imported cases coming from our neighboring countries. So what it essentially means is that we are vulnerable as a country, and we need to make sure, obviously, our water and sanitation is key. But as a country, we are vulnerable. But let me say, Khomoso, that in other countries, it's actually what we say is endemic, which means that it's there on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's one of those diseases that's not spoken about quite loud in terms of how it affects many other African countries where the infrastructure is not of the best. They live with cholera on a day-to-day basis. So whilst the primary intervention needs to be clean water, sanitation, but in those settings when there's an outbreak, you have to intervene, and vaccines are the most powerful tool in an outbreak, just like we saw even in the pandemic.
All right, that's Dr. Morena Makwana, the CEO of BioVac. Really great news on the health front. BioVac receiving approval from SAHPRA to begin clinical trials for its oral cholera vaccine. That's going to see South Africa being less dependent on international pharmaceuticals for vaccines.
EWN Business.
Stephen Curtis, good afternoon.
Afternoon to you, Khomotso. The medium-term budget policy statement, the announcement that the inflation target is now going to be just 3%. There'll be a 1 percentage point band of tolerance on either side. That did help the rand get a little bit stronger as the speech progressed. Just before the Minister Ekurhuleni started speaking, it was around 17.13, 17.14 to the dollar, 17.08 now. Was it 17.05 at one point? There are plenty of other factors around as well, so you can't ascribe just one factor to the increasing strength of the rand. Government debt's going down, the minister says. A revised economic growth projection of around 1.8%. Generally speaking, a mini budget with some positive news. I mean, for a start, it actually happened, and we didn't have any disruptions like we did with the budget. And you can look, if you look through it, you can see some of the signs of that sort of consensus that he talks about. Some of the projects have been cut back. Generally, and we'll speak to Duncan Peterson, the Director General of the National Treasury, tonight. The first signs, perhaps, that money is being managed slightly better, which is one of the key demands of the DA. And then a little bit more money to spend. 2 billion of that is going to Parliament. It's up to you whether that's a good investment or not, but we do need a new parliamentary building after the fire. But a bit more money as well going to education and health, as you would expect, and that's because SARS has been getting more money in. All of that helping the JSE to be quite positive, up 1.21%, 112,531 points. Financials up at 2.17%. Industrials up 1.18%. Resources up 0.41% on the day. The standout, though, has nothing to do with today's speech. It's Woolworths. Their turnovers up by 6.2% and concession sales 6.8%. There was sales growth of 7.4% in South Africa over the last 19-week trading period. Now, Khomotso, think about what they charge for a salad and what you could get the same thing for in ShopRite. And you can see when their sales growth is 17.4%, inflation is much, much lower than that. You can see what people are prepared to pay, and Woolworths is really, as a result, doing very nicely out of that. Momentum's up 5%. Harmony had a capital markets day today. They're up 4%. Redefined properties 3.5%. They might be looking forward to lower interest rates. They'll have to wait a little bit though. And Anglo Gold up 3.21%. Very strong update earlier in the week. Goldfields is down 4.3% and MTN's down 1.7%, while We Buy Cars down again 1.61%. In the US, expecting that Wall Street's main indices will open higher, mainly because of what seems to be the end of the US government shutdown. The gold price higher too, $4,133.97 an ounce. Platinum $1,579.90. Brent crude $63.84. The rand to the dollar 17.08, to the euro at 19.76, to the British pound 22.36. Stephen Krotis, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. Let's go to Mbali Dlamini, who's standing by with your news.
Thanks, Khomotso. Good afternoon. In yet another extension, the COVID-19 Social Relief of Distress Grant will be extended for another 14 months to March of 2027. In May, Finance Minister Ekurhuleni announced an extension of the SRD grant to the end of March 2026. Today, he has extended that grant once again, even though the 2025 budget documents do not make provisions for the grant in the medium term. Ekurhuleni says the 370 Rand grant will be extended while proposals are finalized to link the working age population to skills development and employment programs. The Finance Minister made the commitment to supporting underprivileged households during his medium-term budget policy statement in Parliament today.
Our commitment to support low-income and vulnerable households through education, health and social protection remains. The lion's share of the consolidated non-interest spending, approximately 61% over the next 2 years, continues to fund the basket of government-provided services and benefits that reduce the cost of living of our citizens.
The DA has renewed calls for more policing powers for Cape Town's Metro Police. That call comes as the city battles with ongoing gun violence, which has left 7 people dead today alone. 2 people died in a mass shooting at the Nyanga taxi rank, while 3 others were found dead near Montclair. There were also reports of fatal shootings in Heideveld as well as Mannenberg. The DA's Ian Cameron says it does not make sense to withhold policing powers for municipal law enforcement when they can help the SAPS.
Why would they not allow the City of Cape Town's Metro Police to start investigating gang-related gun offences? For that matter, any kind of organised crime with regard to the violence that we're seeing, a large amount of it is often extortion-related, taxi conflict-related and obviously gang-related.
He adds that it's clear the SAPS is struggling to deal with rising crime.
It is now over 10 years since the Khayelitsha Commission occurred, and SAPS has very little to show for real development and success over the long term with regards to fighting the scourge of violence.
To this now, the alleged Ekurhuleni serial rapist facing more than 100 sexual assault-related charges has told the court he promised one of the victims transport fare for a month in exchange for sex. He faces charges of rape, kidnapping, pointing a firearm, fraud, obstruction of justice and forcing someone to witness a sexual act. Jabuli Lembata reports.
Sipho Lucas Phiri had admitted to the Pretoria High Court that he deceived another woman in Tembisa for sexual gains in 2018. He says she had knocked off from work when he picked her up on the side of the road, offering to take her home. Through an interpreter, he said he lied to her about being married, saying he had just got out of a relationship and wanted a casual one with her.
I explained to her that I just came out of a relationship and that the relationship had hurt me too much.
He says after the ordeal, he told her that he only had 200 rand cash, and when she got upset that it wouldn't be enough, he told her to get out of the car, leaving her deserted. Jabuli Lembata, Eyewitness News, Benoni.
And in Pakistan, security has been tightened in the capital Islamabad following a suicide bomb blast which left 12 people dead yesterday. 27 others were injured when the blast went off in the city's Court district. Residents in the capital are now facing tightened security checks as authorities work to probe that attack. Security has also been stepped up at other court buildings across the city, and long queues of vehicles have formed at checkpoints. A fine start to Thursday in Gauteng tomorrow with afternoon thundershowers expected. Lows of between 15 and 18 degrees and highs of between 30 and 32.
Tembisa, that's if you're heading towards Irene. There's an accident scene R21 northbound near the R25 Pasfontein off-ramp causing more than an hour delay. That's leaving OR Tambo International Airport, so avoid that route at all costs. Also still in Kempton Park, traffic sluggish. R24 westbound between the R21 and Barbara Road.
The top story in EWN: in yet another extension, the COVID-19 Social Relief of Distress Grant will be extended for another 14 months to March of 2027.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays,
12 to 1.
A huge police operation today to, I suppose, protect the two Ndimande brothers.
It's been a long road for the team. We have been anticipating this moment for quite some time. We are leaving nothing to chance. It's a high-risk operation. We are not just dealing with your normal day-to-day criminals. We are dealing with contract killers. They need to come and tell us who sent them to go and kill AKA and tips. We do believe they have the answers.
Aklende Mate, Brigadier.
The Midday Report.
With Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
The all-new Audi A5 has arrived with a panoramic sunroof that changes transparency and a B&O sound system built into the headrests. Every detail makes driving feel like an art form. Visit your Audi dealership, book a test drive and experience the Audi A5 from 14,499 Rand per month with a guaranteed future value. Visit audi.co.za for more. T's and C's apply. Brought to you by Audi Financial Services, a division of Volkswagen Financial Services South Africa, Pty Ltd, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
Access to the internet is vital for any country to grow. That's why the recent 6.75 billion rand digital infrastructure deal that Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking facilitated between Telkom and an Actors-led consortium is so transformational for South Africa. It unlocks growth and provides internet access to underserved communities who will now have access to the internet for the very first time. Search CIB Stories of Impact to watch the full story.
Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Summer's almost here, and so is the magic of the Stodels pot promotion. For a limited time, enjoy up to 50% off pots of every size, shape and color. Big or small, indoor or outdoor, plastic or ceramic. There's something special about finding the perfect pot, the one that brings color, life and joy to your garden. Hurry, this once-a-year event ends 16 November. Visit your nearest Stodels Garden Centre today. Stodels, create happiness.
You know what success looks like. Now discover why focus is the driving force behind every success story. Catch 702 in conversation with Momentum on The Money Show with Stephen Kruttis every Wednesday, discussing the science of success. Step into the mindset of top financial achievers and discover how your thinking, behavior, and focus can shape lasting financial success. Don't miss Momentum's Science of Success Festival 2025, streaming live on 14 November. Register now on momentum.co.za. Momentum, your journey to success on 702. Momentum is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
702.
WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
Hey girl, you must be tired because you've been running through my mind all day. One of the corniest ones. But yeah, it used to work back in the day. Bye bye.
Good morning, 702 family. Look, the only thing I was hoping for Godongwana to say is that we have budgeted 100 million or something for a mass deportation of illegal immigrants in South Africa. It's exhausting. It's very exhausting.
Hi, 702. Dead accident on the R21 North between the R23 and the R25. If you're coming from the airport towards Pretoria, you're going to be delayed for a while. Best option might be to get off on the R23, go towards Kempton Park side, and then drive there until you can get back on the R21 after the R25.
Thank you so much for that tip. Karabojale is keeping his eyes on the road. Thank you so much for your voice notes as well. Let's take a call. We've got Jacob from Moloto Road. Hi, Jacob. You also want to speak on the pickup lines?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Hi, good afternoon, KG.
Good afternoon, Jacob. Thank you for your call. Go ahead.
Yes, some of the pickup lines are great in vernacular. Let me hit you with mine. Komotso, you are so beautiful. Proof of payment.
I like that one.
That
Okay.
is a weapon of mass destruction. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Jacob. Proof of payment.
I can that feeling when the money clocks in, Baba. Oh.
I can show.
Yeah? I think that is cool. That is a good one.
I don't know. Maybe I'm desensitized. Maybe they don't hit me. I don't know. Got a proof of payment. Listen, thank you so much for your contributions. Thank you for your WhatsApps and your calls. And I'm happy for you, the guys that have had their pickup lines work for them, that found you a life partner, a relationship for 6 months maybe. It shows that these can work. It is 1642.
EWN Sport.
Karabo, how are the roads looking? It's spot. Ooh.
It's been a long day.
No, excited. Kabo proof of payment,
Stop blush, Alino.
Yeah, blush.
Thanks so much, Khomotso. India will look to extend their test domination at home when their two-match series begins against world champion South Africa on Friday. India's recent 2-0 sweep of the West Indies saw them clinch their 122nd win in the 5-day format at home, behind only Australia, who have 262 home wins, and England, who have 241. Shukri Conrad says despite that record, the Proteas are confident in their ability to cause an upset.
I think previously you come to India as a newbie and not having experienced India before, you can be in awe, you can be taken aback by the occasion, but I think because our guys are comfortable in the environment, they're comfortable with the opposition they play against because of their involvement in the IPL, I believe that it does make it slightly easier for us to adapt to conditions. It's not foreign to a lot of these guys.
The Bulls' promising players in Springboks Jan-Hendrik Wessels and Cameron Heinekom have extended their contracts with the Pretoria franchise. Having begun their professional careers at the age of 18, both have signed deals until the end of the 2028 season. Meanwhile, the Bok team to take on Italy in the outgoing tour on Saturday will be announced tomorrow. Versatility is key when it comes to selection in the series, and Damian Willemse has discussed the advantage of being able to play fullback, centre and fly half.
It's something that the coaches have been molding into me since I came into the setup in 2018, so it's definitely a role that I've grown into, and something that I cherish to do for the team. And we've got a lot of versatile players in our team, players who can be utility, and that obviously helps with the team selection and with the plans that we want to go for each weekend.
Wolves have appointed Rob Edwards as their new manager on a 3.5-year contract following the sacking of Victor Pereira. Wolves dismissed Pereira on the 2nd of November, just 45 days after he had signed a new 3-year contract. Edwards previously managed Luton in the Premier League and has also played 111 times for Wolves between 2004 and 2008. And former Brazil midfielder Oscar is in stable condition in hospital, having fallen ill with a heart issue while undergoing physical testing at Sao Paulo's training center on Tuesday. The club say he presented with cardiological changes and is undergoing further testing to clarify the diagnosis. Brazilian publication Globo is reporting that Oscar was using an exercise bike when he collapsed and he was unconscious for 2 minutes. Tholakele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by cars.co.za. Let's find out what moves you. Karabo, now it's your turn.
Yes, ma'am. Well, at this stage, Tembisa Ekurhuleni, we have that accident scene, R21 northbound near the R25 Popfontein off-ramp, causing huge delays all the way from Pomona Road. So avoid that route if you're leaving OR Tambo International Airport. Rather get off and use Pretoria Road and drive through the Kempton Park CBD. Still in the Kempton Park area, traffic sluggish heading towards Edenvale, Bedford View, R24 westbound between the R21 and Barbara Road. In Sandton, expect more than a 30-minute delay. M1 northbound between Ethel Oakland and the Patlui interchange. Also leaving Sandton, traffic remains sluggish on Catherine Street between West and Grayston Drive. Calvin Alex area roadwork still causing major delays. N3 southbound between the Patlui interchange and London Road. And finally in the Joburg CBD, traffic remains sluggish on the M2 westbound between Heidelberg Road and the Crown interchange. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Hey, Jim, what's wrong? Hi, Bob. I'm just so confused. I'm trying to buy a car, and I don't know where to stop.
Well, have you tried to... Cars.coza, cars.coza.
Have you tried to...
Cars.coza.
Sorry, we're trying to do an advert.
Whatever car you want to buy or sell, cut through the and just go to cars.coza and let's find what moves you. Cars.coza.
For more about 702,
go to primemediaplus.com.
16:47 right here on 702 Drive. My name is Komotso Mudise. I'm in for John Perlman this afternoon. Thank you so much for tuning in. In just a bit, we're going to be having a conversation with Paul Rulofse on minding your money. And I think maybe, something's been on my mind based on a conversation that we're going to be having a little later about schooling. It's a report by the Human Rights Commission that really addresses or highlights systemic challenges affecting public school learners. And I was saying to the team a little earlier that many people have resorted to going to private schools now, or taking their children to private schools because they're avoiding the problems that are in public school. But one or two of my friends that have children in private schools say, actually, they don't really see the value for money as much as they thought that they would. Many of the challenges that they experience in public schools, maybe not on the same scale, but many of the challenges that they experience in public schools, they really follow them to some of these so-called private schools. And I've been thinking, what are some of the things that you've spent more money on because you thought you'd get more value for your money and you actually didn't? And in hindsight, now you're thinking, why am I actually spending so much money on this? Am I really getting what I thought I'd get from it? Or am I just spending this money because it's all in the mind? I think it's better. I think I'm getting value. I think it's better than whatever else, I could have been going to. I mean, oftentimes you hear people with groceries saying the perception is that grocery store is better than the other, but actually it's not, But you continue to spend the money for whatever reason. Karabo?
Well, going to school, my mother gave me transport money, so she thought I was taking the taxi to school, but then I opted for the train because it was cheaper. And for the longest time, I would buy the first class ticket. Back in the day, they had first class and normal class. I'm giving away my age. So for the longest time, I'll be like, I'm not gonna go to the normal class. I'll go to the first class, which was a little bit more expensive, but still cheaper than the taxi.
Yeah.
And then one day the train was leaving me, and I had to run after it, and then got Kenas Parapar and end up in the normal coaches. And then I was like, huh? This is actually the same thing. It's just that these seats are a little bit harder, and it's actually more fun in the normal one because you got churches, people sing, and you get to meet other kids. And in the first class, it's all these uptight people reading the newspapers, not business people, but
Posh.
you get what? So I was like, I'll go to the normal coaches.
And did you stay? Okay, so eventually, did you then change?
Yeah, no, definitely. From there, I was like, I'm not going back there. I've been wasting my money. And
Okay, Talagela?
For me, it definitely be like a stadium experience. I know people love to be like, get me into a suite and I want to do No, that thing you have to do it like a normal person, guys.
Yes.
The best experience is when you're just sitting with the fans that sing like an hour before kickoff. Every once in a while, someone's going to pour a beer on you. It's going to be awkward. But for me, that's the best experience where even though you're paying less money for it, the positives of it far outweigh the negatives of it. Yes, in the suite, you get the food and you get to kind of just like be ladylike and all of those things. But it's not as fun and it's not as a full-on experience as it is being in the normal sections.
And you get to tell people that, I was in the...
Oh, no. On that side, we're never on TV. We're just singing. That's all we do.
Listen, I do want to hear from you on that. What are some of the things that you're spending your money on that you thought were, they were better? I think oftentimes we spend more money on certain things for the abantu bazothini. What will people think, or how you'll be perceived? Social status, right? Wanting to appear wealthier than you actually are. But really, when you think about it and you're alone at home, you know the truth. You know that you're actually not getting the value for money. I want to hear from you. 011 883 0702 or 072 702 1702.
Join us.
Let's walk the talk.
This is 702.
All right, minding your money feature. We're speaking micro lending in South Africa, and it's an important conversation to have, particularly because there's been a clear decline or a decrease in customers in that space or clients in that space. Micro lenders, players in the micro lender space are really, really pointing out that there just aren't enough clients anymore, and it's because of the financial position of South Africans, not a lot of disposable income anymore. Joining us for that conversation is Paul Rulofse, certified financial planner. Paul, I seem to remember a time where micro lenders were very, very popular. People would go there quite regularly. It was a quick way to get money. You get the money this month, and next month you pay it off. But it doesn't seem to be as popular anymore, does it?
No, it doesn't, Kumut. So yes, what's really happening right now is that it's not becoming that financially viable for microlenders any longer. The Act, the National Credit Act, was implemented in 2007, and there were certain limits placed on microlenders. And I think in that space long ago, there was some financial viability for a microlender. But the plan now is, with the complaint now from most of them, is that they're having to lay off staff. They're having to cut their models because, simply put, they're not making enough money out of it to make it financially viable. Now, what that does, it screens out a very important sector of our lenders who are now having to look at other options. And the only other option is to go to loan sharks who are charging a lot more. And obviously, that's going to put people under a lot more financial pressure.
And is that what we're seeing? Are people resorting to loan sharks more?
They are being forced out because, you see, microlenders work on a model, and let's put it in place. They know that a certain percentage of their book is going to default. And the limit, however, on microlending is 8,000 Rand at 5% over 6 months. And they've got to work within those parameters. And yes, they've got certain other fees that they can charge. They can charge at 10% of every 1,000, above 1,000 to a maximum of 1,050. They can charge a monthly service fee. But all of those factors and fees come into place and make it not that viable any longer. So they'd rather not take on the business, because one fact is that it's an unsecured loan. Unlike banks, banks can secure your house if you lend money from them. They secure your car. If you default, they'll take that back from you very quickly. But in the microlending space, so there's no security. So they have to be compensated by a higher rate. And look, 5% per month isn't cheap. Over 6 months, it's still quite a large slice of the loan. But the point is, they've got to use that to compensate them for the likelihood of a certain percentage of the book that is going to default. So they're in the space right now where they'd rather not take on the business, which now forces a large portion of would-be lenders to look at alternatives. And unfortunately, the alternative is even that much more pricey in the form of a loan shark.
And are we seeing more micro lenders then redirecting their business, changing their models a lot more?
They are. They're cutting the cloth. Obviously, they need to sustain and maintain their business. But I think there's also a lobby going forward now saying, let's review these limits, because I think there is a space between microlending and banks where we can find a neutral ground. Banks can charge you a lower rate of interest because they've got your property as security. Microlenders can't, so they've got to charge you higher. So where it goes right now is I think we've got to get back down to some kind of feasible motion where the two come into the same space and try and find a compromise where banks perhaps can help as well as microlenders can find a new set of limits or parameters where they can lend. Because let's face it, the lending space that microlenders do support is very, very important for our economy. And just off the back of our short-term budget that was just announced just now, the medium-term budget, we're looking for growth. And if we can't lend, we can't grow. It's a very, very fundamental part of our economy. And somewhere there's a handbrake that's up, or it's a stranglehold that we've got. And it means really that this very important sector of microlending is in a pressure point and perhaps needs a review, simply because it's 2007 is such a long time ago.
And what are those proposed possible fixes really to these problems within the microlending space?
Well, we've got to look at the costs and fees. Those also have to be transparent, because what you don't want is some surprises from the lender. But then you've also got to look at the criteria for lending. The National Credit Act puts the obligation on the lender to make sure that the person they're lending to is in a position to repay the payments. So there's very stringent compliance issues and things that need to be revised. And I think they're well placed for the lending business. But somewhere in between that, we've got to look at the parameters. Maybe fees need to be adjusted. Maybe the rate that you're lending at could be adjusted to compensate for this default potential. But those initiations haven't started yet. I think what's happening right now is that we're at a point now where it needs to be negotiated. It needs to be revised. And the authorities under the National Credit Act in particular need to come to the table right now and find some very useful solutions to take it forward.
All right, Paul Roelofse, a certified financial planner, they're talking us through microlending in South Africa. It seems to be getting smaller and smaller, an industry that's getting smaller and smaller, squeezed out. The environment doesn't seem to be conducive for microlending, and we are seeing more microlenders really having to reposition themselves in the business space. It is 16:58.
Africa Milani. Weekday mornings, 4 to 6.
Will he have a slightly more positive story to tell this time around than he did certainly a year ago or even a few months ago when he was desperately trying to pass a budget?
I think it will be a slightly more positive story. I think if you look at the latest revenue data, if you look at the latest expenditure data, it's all looking a little bit better. Inflation is a little bit lower. Economic growth has picked up a little bit.
Lizette Isel de Skipper is a senior economist at the Bureau for Economic Research at Stellenbosch. Medium-term budget policy statement will be delivered at 2 o'clock.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Experience Beethoven's iconic piano concerto No. 3 performed by multi-award-winning pianist Albert Mamreef with the Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra on Thursday, the 13th of November at the Linda Auditorium. The JPO Spring Symphony season continues until the 20th of November, featuring world-class soloists and conductors and a program including Mozart, Brahms and Rachmaninoff and more. These concerts are not to be missed. Book early to avoid disappointment. Tickets available on Quicket.
James, congrats on the babies.
Yeah, thanks. It's a wild ride.
You're a new dad, 2 babies, 0 sleep, and 1 car that apparently couldn't cope.
Yeah, the hatchback was my baby, but it just didn't have enough space for my 2 new babies.
And are you happy with the price when you sold to WeBuy Cars?
Very. We've even got some extra cash to splurge on one of those fancy brands that you basically need a license for.
Good luck, James. WeBuy Cars. Geared for family, geared for you.
Let's count backward. 5. Insurance. 4. Pineapple. 3. Insurance. 2. Pineapple. 1. You're under. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
This is EWN.
Treasury says it saved billions through its targeted savings initiative, and over 100 kilometers of water pipes need replacing in Joburg. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. National Treasury has managed to save 6.7 billion rand through its targeted and responsible savings initiative introduced by the Finance Minister this year. The TARS initiative has recommended that several government programs be scrapped immediately, phased out over a short period of time, or subjected to further scrutiny. Government has also launched a process to remove ghost workers from the payroll, with more than 8,000 cases identified. Finance Minister Ekurhuleni delivered the medium-term budget this afternoon. Babalondenze reports.
The TARS initiative identified low-hanging fruit or underperforming programs for reduction or closure as Treasury tries to minimize waste. Treasury says the measures are intended to protect frontline services while creating space to increase spending on the government's priorities, including infrastructure. Minister Ekurhuleni says the initiative will also address social grant fraud.
The Targeted and Responsible Savings Initiative systematically identifies duplication, eliminates waste, reorganize programs to deliver value for money. We are implementing medium-term savings of 6.7 billion by closing or scaling down low priority and underperforming programs immediately. More than half of this involves identifying people who are double dipping and defrauding in the social grant system.
Kodongwana says they are also scaling down the public transport network grant after some cities failed to get their integrated public transport systems off the ground. Babalondense, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Let's stay with the minister's speech. Unlike the contestation, which was characterized the main budget earlier this year, the DA is backing the lower inflation target, the debt ceiling and the early rewards from spending reviews announced in today's medium-term budget policy statement. Finance Minister Ekurhuleni's statement has received broad support from Government of National Unity partners, a move which the DA's John Steenhuisen has described as a sign that the coalition is maturing. He has weighed in on some of today's announcements.
I think some of the measures announced today are going to start to show the green shoots of growth and start to drive down the cost of living that affects so many South Africans, and which is pillar 2 of our statement of intent. And so I'm very positive about the future, and that's why we're very supportive of this.
Steenhuisen says valuable lessons have been learned from the false starts at tabling a national budget that met consensus in February, March and again in May.
I think there's been a settling down in the last 3 months. The Leaders' Summit was very, very productive and very useful. And I think we all realize we're in this together. We have to make it work for the people of South Africa.
We shift our focus to this now. Former head of employee relations in the Ekurhuleni Metro, Ekurhuleni has raised questions before the Madlanga Commission over an alleged dodgy deal between the Metro and companies belonging to alleged crime boss Vusimuzi Matlala. Ngiza has told the Commission that suspended EMPD acting chief Julius Mkhwanazi struck a deal that would see Matlala donate several high-end vehicles to the city of Ekurhuleni. He says in exchange, Matlala would enjoy protection from EMPD and the city, as the vehicles would be registered as municipal vehicles but kept for his personal use. Ngiza has expressed suspicion over what the vehicles were used for.
What is it that was ferried through these vehicles? We don't know that. But what we do know is that if these vehicles encountered any form of scrutiny by any law enforcement agency, that law enforcement agency probably would have said they are municipal vehicles and therefore let me back off.
Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero has revealed that at least 150 kilometers of aging water and sewer pipes in the city need to be replaced. The city has faced criticism for moving at a snail's pace when upgrading water and electricity infrastructure. Officials have acknowledged that some of Joburg's water woes are caused by old and deteriorating underground pipes. Speaking at the launch of his CEO cleanup campaign today, Mayor Morero reaffirmed the city's commitment to improving and modernizing its water and sewer systems.
We are taking a commitment as the city of Johannesburg that on our side would ensure that we deal with infrastructure refurbishment. The water and sewer infrastructure is high on our list. There's 150 kilometers of pipes that has to be replaced in the city, and we will be doing that work, both water and sewer.
And US President Donald Trump says he had an obligation to sue the BBC over a misleading speech edit. Trump made the statements during a Fox News interview. It came just hours after Trump's lawyers threatened the British broadcaster with $1 billion lawsuit. Earlier this week, the BBC apologized for giving the impression that Trump had directly urged violent action on the US Capitol in 2021. The edited speech was contained in a documentary which aired in October last year. The BBC Director General and the organization's top news executive resigned on Sunday over the controversy. Gold is trading at $4,128.27 an ounce. The rand is at 17.15 to the dollar, 22.47 to the pound, 19.84 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $65.16 a barrel.
Accident scene in Tembisa, R21 northbound near the R25 Papsfontein off-ramp. This is causing huge delays all the way from the Pomona off-ramp. In Boksburg, bumper-to-bumper traffic on the N12 eastbound between Jet Park and Atlas Road, and we still have those roadworks in the Sunwood Park area causing heavy delays. N17 eastbound between Rondebolt and Carnival City.
In your sport, South Africa confident ahead of their test series against India. Josh Hazelwood given the okay for Ashes opener following hamstring scare, and Toto Wolff in talks to sell part of his Mercedes F1 shares.
A fine start to Thursday in Gauteng tomorrow with afternoon thundershowers expected. Joburg dropping to overnight lows of 17 degrees, peaking at a high of 32. Pretoria 18 and 32 and Vereeniging 15 and 30 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. National Treasury has managed to save 6.7 billion rand through its targeted and responsible savings initiative introduced by the Finance Minister this year.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
702.
Live
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7.
And 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Welcome back. This is 702 Drive with me, Khomozo Mudisa. I'm in for John Perlman this afternoon. It is the third and final hour of the show, 8 minutes past 5. Thank you so much for tuning in. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to be having a conversation on a South African Human Rights Commission report that details systemic challenges affecting public school learners. Tsepo Malingosi from the Human Rights Commission will be joining us for that. And then we'll have reaction to the mini budget. We saw Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana delivering the mini budget. There are highlights from that. It looks generally good, and he seemed to be looking good as well, in a good mood, eager to share what he had prepared with us. We're going to be speaking to Spiso Skenjana, who is an economist and managing director at ESG Analytics. He's going to help us make sense of that speech. And then a little later in the show, of course, we're going to be having our song, the song feature for this afternoon. We are taking your calls on 011 883 0702 and your WhatsApps on 072 702 1702.
702.
WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
Hello, Komoto. This is Anonymous from Pretoria. So just to comment on the issue of private schools versus public schools. So my experience is, when I started working, I had to work with a lot of, colleagues who came from your affluent private schools. And I can tell you, even when I had better qualification than some of them, but they were able to progress much quicker than myself, purely on the basis of how easily they could express themselves and the level of confidence, right? And this is more particular in my experience in the financial services sector, your banks, your insurance and all that. Yeah, so since then I've made a conscious decision. That's why my son goes to one of the private schools, and I can tell you the level of confidence and how easily and confidently he can express himself. So to me, I do see a difference because I know how, and many of my colleagues who came from your public schools struggled in that environment. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that voice note. Yeah, I was, it's a conversation that we're having about, the certain things that you spent a lot more money on, and you look back and you think, maybe that didn't make much of a difference. And I was sharing the experience of some of my friends who have their children in, I don't want to say so-called private schools, but I suppose there are levels and tiers to this private school thing as well. And some of them will say, actually, I don't see that much of a difference for the amount of money that I pay, especially, or it's just the fact that it's been called a private school that I'm paying that much money. But I appreciate that take so much because it's important what you're highlighting. I think, a point that I've heard from some as well is the fact that because of the tiers in this private school thing, unless you're in a premium private school, then everything else in between isn't vastly different from what you would get from a really good public school. And again, I'm no pro or expert in this space. It is a view and an opinion that I've heard from some around me, but I do hear what you're saying, and I want to hear from more people, not just on schooling, but anything that you've spent more money on that you think, actually, this is not where it's at. Maybe if spending a little or going to what's not seen as premium is just as good. And I think oftentimes, even with things like schooling, oftentimes people take their children to certain schools because they do think that because of the, what's it called? Social status. Is that it, Karabo?
I think so, yeah.
Yes,
I think you're on the right track.
social status, right?
Yeah.
And what being able to mention, my child goes to kai, or, oh, my child, okay, I go private. You have heard parents that say that. They don't really say what school. They just say private. And I think that's something that we see in our lives, even outside of schooling, just to be able to say, I shop go kai, But when you think about it, there are things that are just as good elsewhere, but because of the libit or the brand, the name. I heard you speaking actually a little earlier, Karabo, also about sneakers and brands.
Yes. So I don't know why I did this, but I used to buy my kid your branded sneakers because I thought it will last longer. It's good quality. When he runs around, they won't break that easily. But then they grow so quickly, these kids. And then he outgrows them, and then what do you do with them? They still look brand new. They still look in good quality condition. And we just had to give them away with a heavy heart.
Well, I suppose for you, maybe it's not so bad because actually you did get the value for money. The sneaker was still in good condition. It's not like you bought a branded sneaker and it broke.
Okay, fair enough. But then I think he wore it for like 2-3 months, and then there we go.
Yeah, listen, I'm also experiencing the same thing currently as a parent. I mean, I'm buying things for my daughter now from places that I thought were good quality stores, you know, from a time when I was a child, where my parents would say, hey, Pala, wapara ing, you know. And what I'm experiencing with some of those items is some of the, you know how kiddies' clothes will have words, like phrases on them and designs. I don't know if it's the washing machine or what's going on, but there's not a lot of
they're way off quickly.
Yeah, there's not a lot of longevity there, and I've been wondering maybe I should just go to that other one, that other shop.
Why not?
Right?
I would do that when I get my next kid. I'm gonna be like, no more branded sneakers, my guy. You wear that one.
All right, we're taking more of your calls on that on 011 883 0702 072 702 1702.
EWN Traffic.
Karabo, how are the roads looking?
Well, pretty busy on our roads at this stage, particularly in Ekurhuleni, where we have that accident scene in the Tembisa area on the R21 northbound near the R25 Paffontein off-ramp, causing more than a 30-minute delay all the way from Pomona off-ramp. So if you're leaving OR Tambo International Airport, heading towards Pretoria, rather use Pretoria Road. That's through the Kempton Park CBD. Hopefully that will save you some time. Still in the Kempton Park area, this time heading towards Bedford View, Edenville. Traffic is sluggish. R24 westbound between the R21 and Barbara Road. Boksburg, bumper-to-bumper traffic. N12 east between Jet Park Road and Atlas Road. In Sunwood Park, still in Boksburg. Roadworks causing heavy delays. N17 eastbound between Rondebolt and Carnival City. In Sandton, traffic heavily backed up. Expect about a 30-minute delay on the M1 northbound between Ethel Oakland and the Betlui interchange. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
The Ekurhuleni Metro has now suspended Julius Mkhwanazi following these damning allegations of unlawful conduct. But this is the same city that protected this man for so long. This is in 2023, and yet he was still allowed to return to work. And at the time I interviewed Zweli Dlamini, who was speaking on behalf of the city, and he defended that decision. It was so wild. And I think the city must be held accountable for having protected this man for so long. And I suspect he was protected because if he does go down, other people in the city are going to go down too, probably including politicians. And I wonder, how many other state employees have left their posts? Or any worker, in fact, have left their companies because they just couldn't continue being part of a rotten system.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Classics on Turf is back, where golf and classical music meet in one unforgettable Johannesburg night. Join 702 at Kilani Country Club on Friday, the 14th of October, as Kutlano Masote leads a full orchestra bursting with energy, color, and rhythm. Sharing the stage, Judith Sipoma brings her velvet voice and unmatched charm to a proudly South African musical celebration. Your ticket includes delicious canopies, welcome drinks, and with a rainproof setup, the show goes on no matter the weather. Book now at quicket.co.za. Classics and Turf is proudly made possible by Telkom and brought to you in partnership with 702.
Smart Steve from Momentum. Hello.
Steve, you moved to Momentum. Congrats.
Thanks.
It's Tasha. Listen, the fast-paced life in Josie just isn't working for me. I'm migrating to the Cape.
What does that have to do with life insurance?
Well, you know I love a glass or three. And I want to age as graciously as a smooth Merlot, not a box of car Bordeaux.
Naturally.
And I need my critical illness cover to pair with those chill vibes.
Of course. With Momentum, you get the most comprehensive critical illness cover in the market. You could say it's a full-bodied offering.
I'll toast to that.
Chat to your financial advisor about Momentum's critical illness cover. Momentum, protecting your journey to success. Momentum is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Brush, stroke, paint, color, protect, and admire. From roof paint to exterior textures and interior silk, Warrior Paints has it all. The product range and stylish colors are amazing. And what's more, Warrior Paints has crushed prices for incredible savings. Enjoy that good old-fashioned personal service you deserve. For price, Quality, variety, and service. Warrior Paints is streets ahead. Warrior Paints. Affordable, lasting luxury.
Day 20, awaiting proof of payment. Day 30, still waiting. Day 40, funds finally cleared. In business, credit with 55 interest-free days keeps you moving. We get it. Get an ABSA Business Credit Card. Use over 50% of your credit and initiation fees will be on us. Offer ends 31 December 2025. Apply at absa.co.za/business. ABSA is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply. ABSA, your story matters.
702 Podcast.
On PrimeMediaPlus.com.
Welcome back. It's 19 minutes past 5 right here on 702 Drive. My name is Khomotso Modise. I'm in for John Perlman. All right, today was mini budget day. We saw Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana tabling that budget in Parliament. And I was reading his body language, and to me, he seemed like a very eager man, very excited to deliver what he had prepared. Of course, there was a lot that came out from there, details around a growth forecast, 1.8%, as well as the inflation targets, an update on that. But here to help us make sense of it all is Sfiso Skenjana, who's an economist and a managing director at ESG analyst. Thank you so much for your time, Sfiso, and welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Khomotso, and of course to the listeners at home.
So maybe let's just start with the finance minister's demeanor. I've been seeing a lot of commentary about that. Many people saying he seemed very confident and eager to share what he had prepared. Is that the sense you're getting?
Yeah, I mean, I think also, in the way in which they walked into the parliamentary precinct, we were teasing that it's the money team. You had the deputy minister, you had the commissioners, you had the minister, and I guess, really, I think walking in, sending a message of unity in terms of unity of thought and I guess direction. And so, yeah, certainly I think the body language was quite positive.
Yeah. From where I'm standing and from what I've seen in the time that I've been in studio, it seems like this was a good budget. Apart from the slow growth that we're expecting, there's a lot of good news. Can you just take us through the key pointers from this budget?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think from where I'm standing, it's quite difficult to call it a good budget, to be honest with you. On a number of things. One, there's still no conversation. So we need to, and I'll start with the state-owned entities. There's quite a drive that's still happening on PPPs on the renewable energy side, and also around then the contingent reserves that are in essence being put in place to support the transformation of the rail industry. That's going to create a particular debt burden for us, particularly what we call contingent liabilities. No one is talking about how big that will be, and so when we're looking at the widening of the debt ceiling as already shared today, one of the things then that is not, so we need to understand what kind of spending that is, and therefore what's the impact quotient that is associated with that. That's one thing. The second thing is, of course, is that now we're finding ourselves again playing catch up in the way in which we're using our thinking around the budget. So we saw, of course, money being taken away from Petra in the US. And now, of course, that's being provided for in the budget that we're closing the gap that Donald Trump opened. It's not talking intentionally around how do we think about public health care provision in South Africa in a way that institutions play the right role to be able to drive meaningful health outcomes. And so, again, quite reactive from that perspective. And then, of course, with this, big, I guess, conversation that keeps emerging around this inflation target. Again, if we understand sources of inflation in South Africa, first and foremost, the largest drivers, one of the big drivers of inflation in South Africa is administered prices. We just saw NERSA giving Eskom 12.8% increase, and therefore, unless National Treasury is telling us as a country that they're not going to give Eskom anything more than 3%, it means inflation will persist. And so when you're using a monetary policy tool on a thing that will continue to persist, that you don't have purview over, Oil prices is another driver of inflation in South Africa. That's not inflation that we've got in control, and yet we're using a monetary policy tool to try control that. So my point is that all the things that we focused on here in this particular budget, for me, don't talk pro-growth. They don't talk intentionality around where the real levers of impactful and catalytic growth is going to come from a South African point of view. And I think that's quite concerning.
Yeah. And in your view, what's keeping growth so muted?
I think we haven't articulated the reason why we are here. One of the reasons is because, if you look at the type of the employment base that we've got, 91% of people are unemployed in South Africa have a matric or less. And therefore, what we call structural transformation of the economy, it speaks to between the primary, secondary, and tertiary sectors. Where do you push your investments to be able to be responsive to the labor foundation or labor base that you've got? Right now, services contribute 24% of our GDP, yet the labor base that is available is a labor base that is probably available to the primary and secondary sectors. And so the sector is that we've allowed ourselves to move as if we are a developed country. We deindustrialized in 1998, and we haven't been able to pick up an industrial base that can reabsorb these people. And so we're not going to get any growth that is meaningful besides the paper fire, capital flows growth led, financial sector led growth, which is what we are seeing in this 1.8% that in essence has been modeled.
And what about that 3% inflation target that's being described as going to ease the cost of living in the long term? Surely that's a plus.
No, I mean, cost of living on what, right? If people don't have money, the economic base is not growing, and then the only cost of living they have is social security support. And so you've got to make sure that the ability for wages to rise has got to be outpacing inflation. The ability for economic activity has got to outpace inflation, and all of those things. And so you can't talk inflation in an isolated context without understanding what is good inflation and what is bad inflation, and what are the times in which inflation can be palatable at 7%. When a country is industrializing, there's enough literature to show that the average palatable inflation is somewhere between 7 and 13.5%. That's actually an inflation rate that is commensurate to the level of growth where we are as a country, or the level of development we are as a country. We are underdeveloped as a country, and we can't keep ignoring that just because we've got an advanced financial services sector. And so once we talk inflation, we're talking 3%, and like I was saying to you, that 3% is not real fuel inflation for ordinary South Africans, because of administered prices don't show in the way that they should reflect in that number because of the basket weightings. We've had long conversations with the guys, as I say, around whether the basket is reflective of the ordinary real fuel experience of inflation in South Africa, and the truth is that it isn't, and they know it. And so that inflation number is also the function of the basket and the things that go into the basket. And so if 22% of that basket is around rentals, and half of South Africa, for example, don't rent anywhere, whose inflation experience is that? And so this is the thing that we need to talk about, is that basket truly representative of the real fuel inflation in South Africa before then we talk about the inflation itself? Because then you'll know that maybe the real fuel inflation in South Africa is probably closer to 5.5%.
Spiswa Skenjan, thank you so much for your time. He's an economist and managing director at ESG Analysts, helping us make sense there of the budget, the medium-term budget. And I've been seeing a lot of optimism around it, but he seems to feel rather different. And I think that there'll be very interesting views on the Money Show a little later on in the evening, just around what we can make of this budget. I saw an Enoch Gonagona that seemed very confident in delivering the budget, and someone who appeared to want to share what's in this budget. But of course, there'll be more analysis later on.
EWN Business.
Yes, or now. Stephen Curtis, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Khomotso. Yes. In a way, the person whose voice matters probably the most on all of this, apart from the finance minister himself, is the president, Cyril Ramaphosa. And in the moments after the speech, he really did throw his support behind it. Julius Malema, not so much. And I've made the point many times that this has happened without really a big political discussion. There's been a big economics discussion, but there hasn't been a political discussion. And it's also kind of a comment on where the national coalition is. If the DA and the ANC agree on something, it'll probably happen. It's one of the unsaid things in our politics, and yet I suspect we kind of all know it's true. The JSE All-Share reacting quite positively, by the way. It's up 1.5% at 112,908 points. Financials up 2%. I think that is linked to the decision around inflation. Industrials up 0.87% and resources also up at 2.15%. And the rand still holding that strength against the dollar. I must just say there was a sort of priced in, there was an expectation that the inflation target would be lowered today. But even so, the rand is a little bit stronger. And of course, some of the big announcements, the revised economic growth projections, government debts going down, but more money coming in. Thank you, SARS. We'll speak to the SARS Commissioner, Edward Kieswetter, on the Money Show. Ask him if he'll be able to get another 20 billion rand, which would save us from a tax hike come February. And then I suppose the other good news, is that politically this all happened very smoothly, and that's one of the key moments. On the markets, Woolworths ending the day up nearly 9%. Khomotso, they did say that they'd had sales growth of 7.4% in South Africa, their turnover up by 6.2%. Anglo Gold up 5.47%, Momentum up 5%, Redefine Properties up nearly 5%, and DRD Gold up 3.62%. The MTN Group's down 2.32% on the day, and We Buy Cars is down 2.17%. In the US, the main indices have been really sort of digesting the news, I suppose, around the end of the US federal government and the shutdown rather than the end of the US federal government. That would be a slightly different point. But we are expecting really quite a positive turn. I say that, but it is mixed. The Dow Jones is up 0.86%. The Nasdaq is down 0.09%. The S&P 500 is up 0.17%. The gold price right now, $4,141.97. That's up. Platinum, $1,597.74. Brent crude, $63.44. The rand to the dollar stronger, 17.08 to the euro, 19.78 to the British pound, 22.39. On the Money Show tonight, we will speak to the Director General, Duncan Peterser, in the Treasury around the medium-term budget policy statement, particularly around where government wants to cut spending, so some of the benefits for civil servants. Also, the Finance Minister, Enoch Godongwana, said in a pre-budget briefing today that the idea of cutting the medical aid tax credit is an attack on the middle class. That's a very strong statement. The Health Minister won't be pleased with that. We'll talk about that with Duncan Peterser. Also, get a view from Edward Kieswetter, the SARS Commissioner. We'll hear the view from business with Busisiwe Mavuso and just get an understanding of what is going to happen next. And then Bonang Mohale, you'll know him, Khomotso. He's our shapeshifter tonight. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. All right, Mbali Dlamini, you're standing by with the latest in EWN.
Thanks, Khomotso. Good afternoon. In yet another extension, the COVID-19 Social Relief of Distress Grant will be extended for another 14 months to March of 2027. In May this year, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana announced an extension of this grant to the end of March 2026. But today, he's extended that grant again, even though the 2025 budget documents do not make provisions for the grant in the medium term. Godongwana says the 370 Rand grant will be extended while proposals are finalized to link the working age population to skills development and employment programs. The Finance Minister made the commitment to support underprivileged households during his medium-term budget policy statement in Parliament this afternoon.
Our commitment to support low-income and vulnerable households through education, health and social protection remains. The lion's share of the consolidated non-interest spending, approximately 61% over the next 2 years, continues to fund the basket of government-provided services and benefits that reduce the cost of living of our citizens.
The ANC has welcomed the decline in unemployment figures but says the fight against joblessness is far from over. Yesterday, Stats SA announced that the unemployment rate dropped by 1.3% to 31.9% in the third quarter of the year. The ANC has credited its recently launched 10-point economic growth plan as a contributor to the improvement. Alfa Ramoshwana has more.
More than 248,000 jobs were created in the third quarter, pushing the total number of employed South Africans to just over 17.1 million. This is the highest figure recorded since the COVID-19 pandemic. The ANC says while it welcomes this progress, far more still needs to be done to ensure that most South Africans are absorbed into formal employment. The party has urged government, labour and business to invest in the unemployed and to create more opportunities for ordinary citizens. It has also partly credited the recent drop in unemployment to its 10-point economic plan, which was only unveiled last month. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
To the Western Cape now, where the DA has renewed calls for more policing powers for Cape Town's Metro Police Department. The call comes as the city battles with ongoing gun violence, which has left 7 people dead today. 2 people died in a mass shooting at the Nyanga taxi rank, while 3 others were found dead in Montclair. There were also reports of fatal shootings in Heideveld as well as Mannenberg. The DA's Ian Cameron says it does not make sense to withhold more policing powers for municipal law enforcement when they can help the SAPS.
Why would they not allow the City of Cape Town's Metro Police to start investigating gang-related gun offences? For that matter, any kind of organised crime with regard to the violence that we're seeing, a large amount of it is often extortion-related, taxi conflict-related and obviously gang-related.
He says it's clear the SAPS is struggling to deal with rising crime.
It is now over 10 years since the Khayelitsha Commission occurred, and SAPS has very little to show for real development and success over the long term with regards to fighting the scourge of violence.
And in Pakistan, security has been tightened in the capital Islamabad following a suicide bomb blast which left 12 people dead yesterday. 27 others were injured when the blast went off in the city's Court district. Residents in the capital are now facing tightened security checks as authorities work to probe the attack. Security has also been stepped up at other court buildings across the city, and long queues of vehicles have formed at checkpoints. A fine start to Thursday in Gauteng tomorrow with afternoon thundershowers expected. Lows of between 15 and 18 degrees and highs of between 30 and 32.
Tembisa, we still have that accident scene, R21 northbound near the R25 Paffontein off-ramp, causing an hour delay all the way from Atlas Road. Sandton also expect about a 30-minute delay on the M1 northbound between Ethel Oakland and the Betlu interchange. Also leaving Sandton, traffic is heavily backed up on Catherine Street between West and Greyston.
The top story in EWN. In yet another extension, the COVID-19 Social Relief of Distress Grant will be extended for another 14 months to March of 2027.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
Michael Komape, Oratile Dilwane, Langalam Viki, Lumkam Ketwa, Omari Monono. These are innocent children whose lives were tragically cut short because they fell into pit toilets.
Little Unatlebo lost his life last year. One of the last images the family said that they have of Unatlebo is a nurse pumping his stomach that was bloated and filled with feces and urine from the pit toilet he had fallen into.
Oh, Risha used to.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online Standard rates apply.
Take the ultimate spin with 10Bet and me, Andy Lengube, to win a luxury BMW X3. Join 10bet.co.za. Play selected games. Every 10 rands you play earns you points. Hit the top of the leaderboard and the prize could be yours. T's and C's apply. 10Bet is a licensed betting operator and supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 shall be permitted to bet. Betting can be addictive. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. License number 921096661.
Access to the internet is vital for any country to grow. That's why the recent 6.75 billion rand digital infrastructure deal that Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking facilitated between Telkom and an Actis-led consortium is so transformational for South Africa. It unlocks growth and provides internet access to underserved communities who will now have access to the internet for the very first time. Search CIB Stories of Impact to watch the full story.
Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
702.
WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
Good afternoon, all. For me, it would definitely be like paying banking fees. Like you have your different tiers in your banking, private client to cold client. For me, I'm done paying the bank or making the banks rich because you pay so much for that account and it does the same thing as your savings.
That's actually a good one. That's a great one. Yeah. I mean, how many times people pay so much, just to have, do people still brag about having a black card? Is that still a thing? I wonder. But, people pay, to say, oh, I bank with these people, I'll bank with that bank. And I think that sometimes it's a status thing. I think sometimes there are banks that people think less of, and banks that people think are the bank to bank with, but really, you're putting the same money into the account, and sometimes you're just losing a whole lot of it for that status or for whatever reason. But yeah, we've been taking your voice notes and your calls on things that you've spent a lot more money on because you thought that they'd have value for money, or that the quality of the thing is better, or I'm going to get more out of this, but also, maybe the food is better at this place. So, whatever it is, you're going to get better stuff from it. And then you don't. You don't. But many people stay in those situations. We still pay more for those things for whatever reason. And I think the big one is the status thing, right? To mention in conversation, to say, hey, Konje, now, I pay, I bank here, or I buy my food there, or I buy my clothes there. But really, are you really getting the value for money? I wonder. Thank you so much for your voice notes. I appreciate your engagement. It is 22:06.
EWN Sport.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Komotso. Shukri Conrad has termed Captain Themba Bavuma as the Proteas' best player. That's ahead of his return to the setup for the Test series against India. Bavuma missed the drawn clashes against Pakistan last month and was instrumental in South Africa's success in the last World Championship cycle, scoring 911 runs in 10 tests since 2023.
Themba's massive for us. He's our best player. It's as simple as that. Which makes winning a test match in Pakistan so much better for us, that we were able to do it without our best player. A lot of feel-good, a lot of confidence. If you take the last 2 years maybe, he's been one of the best players in the world. His record speaks for itself. The calmness he brings to the batting unit, his leadership, his quiet demeanour. We get a lot of feel-good from that, and he certainly brings a lot of confidence.
Ethan Hooker expects Italy to provide the Springboks with the serious challenge in Turin on Saturday. The team for that game will be announced tomorrow, and Hooker will be looking to make his 7th appearance for the national team. He could also get the opportunity to wear the number 12 jersey for the first time on Saturday, with Kane Moody at 13.
Australia, a very quality team, and I think to go out there and beat Australia is going to give them huge amounts of confidence and energy, and they're going to use the good things that they took out from that game, and I think they're going to use it against us. I think world rankings don't really mean anything. I mean, it's all about on the day, how a team pitches, their prep during the week and stuff like that. So we don't really look at where they're positioned in the world. I mean, like you said, they have beaten us before. They're just another team coming out here to just give their best against us.
Alex Tenzwebe is pushing ahead with a £1 million lawsuit against Manchester United, who is accusing of clinical negligence relating to medical advice that he received. Tenzwebe lodged a claim in the High Court back in July, and in documents alleges he no longer capable of playing without restriction or impediment. The Burnley defender expects to recover damages in excess of £1 million should he win his case. In Australia, burger chain Grilled have apologized for cursing Oscar Piastri. That's with a promotional offer that coincided with the McLaren driver's recent loss of form. Piastri was 34 points clear at the top of the Drivers' Championship in late August when Grill launched a promotion that would give customers a free Piastri burger whenever the Australian claimed the podium. However, in the 5 races since, he's failed to finish on the podium and his lead has turned into a 24-point deficit with 3 rounds remaining. Tolagele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. You could save on car insurance, and if you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Karabo Jali, hello.
Yeah, Humza, at this stage in Tembisa, we're still dealing with that accident scene, R21 northbound near the R25 Popsfontein off-ramp, still causing more than an hour delay all the way from Atlas Road. So if you're traveling towards Pretoria, that's leaving OR Tambo International Airport, rather use Pretoria Road through the Kempton Park CBD. Hopefully that will save you some time. Still in the Ekurhuleni area, Boksburg, bumper-to-bumper traffic. This is on the N12 eastbound between Jet Park Road and Atlas Road. Sunwood Park, Boksburg roadworks also causing heavy delays on the N17 eastbound between Rondebolt and Carnival City. Driving through Sandton heading towards Midrand, expect about a 30-minute delay on the M1 northbound between Athol Oakland and the Batlu interchange. Still in the Sandton area, there's traffic pressure on Catherine Street between West Street and Grayston. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car full of groceries and a lady who will be attempting to make her mother-in-law's famous recipe for the family dinner tonight.
5 mils of sugar.
The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's butterflies and a potential bonding moment. Every story is different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Join us.
Let's walk the talk.
This is 702.
Welcome back. This is 702 Drive with me, Komoto Mudise. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is 5:45 and it's time now for our song feature. And today we're going to be I'm going to invite you to give us songs that give you the goosies, that give you goosebumps. There's just those songs that when you listen to them, no matter how many times you listen to them, they just, they have the skin on your hair, on your arm raising, right? And you feel so warm inside, but also they just blow you away. There's music that just blows you away. Some songs that you listen to over and over and over again, and it blows you away. So I want to invite you for those requests. I've been thinking about a song for me that gives me goosebumps, and I think the song that came to mind for me is a song by Nigerian artist Asha. I think that's how you say her name, Asha, even though it's spelled A-S-A. And the song is called Ayadabi. It's such a beautiful, beautiful song by Asha. And the first time I heard it, I thought, maybe this is the song that I would walk down the aisle to. I thought that's the type of song that I can just see you walking down the aisle. I thought it was a love song, but it's actually a song of a prayer for peace. It's a prayer for peace, and I'm going to read the translation of the lyrics for you after we listen to it. But have a listen and let me know what you think the song is about, and then we will translate after this.
Chumatimo, oh Chumatimo mi, Ilehio, oh Chumatimo, Morireo, oh Chumatimo, oh Chumatimo mi, Ilehio, oh Chumatimo. Morireo. Adaba, 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 tifoloke, loke, wabale mio, ojumotimo, morireo. Ojumatima, Ojumatima mi, Lileyo, Ojumatima, Morireo. Ojumatima, Ojumatima mi, Lileyo, Ojumatima. Morireo. Oh yeah, adaba, tifoloke, loke, loke, wa palebio, ojumatima, morireo. Oh yeah.
So the song is Ayadaba by Asha, and there's so many translations online. The summary really somewhere here online says that it's a reflective prayer for peace. And then it is in the Yoruba language of Nigeria, and it basically says, according to one of the translations, I wake up at dawn as it dawns upon me. In this land it's dawn, I see hope. And then it says, dove, dove, dove that flies far above the sky, come descend on me. It's dawn, I see hope. And then it says, please sing for me again. And I think that's such a beautiful song. I don't know if that gave you goosebumps. It certainly gives me goosebumps. So we're taking your song requests, songs that give you the goosies, that really hit you there in the heart, that have, and I'm going to try to get this right now, is it the hairs on your arms stand? I think that's the expression. I hope I get it right. All right, we're taking more of your voice notes as well as your WhatsApps, 072-702-1702, or call us on 011-830-702.
Africa Milani.
Weekday mornings,
4 to 6.
Will he have a slightly more positive story to tell this time around than he did certainly a year ago or even a few months ago when he was desperately trying to pass a budget?
I think it will be a slightly more positive story. I think if you look at the latest revenue data, if you look at the latest expenditure data, it's all looking a little bit better. Inflation is a little bit lower. Economic growth has picked up a
Lizette Isel de Skipper is a senior economist at the Bureau for Economic Research at Stellenbosch. Medium-term budget policy statement will be delivered at 2 o'clock.
Africa Milani.
4 to 6 on 702.
Josie, my Josie, a city made of swag, passion and resilience. Over here, we rise with the sun. Namateksi. We are a city of doers, creators, and believers. When we unite, yonke into iyahlangana. From corner offices to corner veggie stalls or corner pre-chat and receipt. Josie, my Josie, a city where even those who were not born here are made here. Yabona la, citizenship is awarded to the curious. There's magic and beauty in our city, so we call on everyone to come experience it. Babiza bonke to come see Josie and all its people, because this city is all of us. Come witness our citizens do it. Babiza bonke to come see the actions of the invisibles, those building our city from the ground up, so we have a home we can all proudly call Josie, my Josie. Visit josiemyjosie.com to see how Josie does it.
To any private bank worth the title, who you are and where you're headed matters. That's why at Investec, we'll get to know you and your goals, so you can focus on building a better future for your family. If you earn 800,000 Rand per annum or more, you may qualify for Investec Private Banking, where you'll enjoy effortless digital capabilities, backed by real people who understand you. We'll even switch your account for you. Now that's private banking.
Investec is an authorized financial services and registered credit provider. Investec, out of the ordinary.
You could spend 10 minutes waiting for the microwave to beep, or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For his 2024 Suzuki Jimny, 55-year-old Stefan now pays only 611 Rand a month. And for her 2024 Kia Sonet, 31-year-old Palisa pays just 926 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
702.
WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
Khomotso, good afternoon. A beautiful song will make your hair stand up. You'll get not chicken skin, you'll get ostrich skin. Love will find a way, from the soundtrack of The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride. Hope you enjoyed Vainantia. Bye.
A song that gives me the goosies. Chrisette Michelle, Together. That gives me goosebumps every time I listen to it. It's a song, honestly, till today, I'm gonna say it's my wedding song. It's Lerato from Springs. Thank you.
We pray together. We lay together. We work together. Ah, baby. We both come first, but together.
A beautiful song by Chrisette Michelle. That's Together. Thank you so much for that request. I see you, Masterpiece. You would like the song Goodbye My Love by James Blunt.
Did I disappoint you or let you down? Should I be feeling guilty or let the judges frown? 'Cause I saw the end before we'd begun. Yes, I saw you were blinded and I knew I had won. So I took what's mine by eternal right. Took your soul out into the night. It may be over, but it won't stop there. I am here for you. If you'd only care. You touched my heart, you touched my soul, changed my life and all my goals. And love is blind, and that I knew.
That's James Blunt. Goodbye, my love. Masterpiece, thank you so much for your request. Let's take a call. Figiswa, you're in Pretoria. Good afternoon. Thanks for your call. Go ahead.
Hi, 702.
Hi, Sissy. What's your request?
My request is Nora Jones. I've been thinking about you.
And that song gives you the goosies.
I love Nora Jones. I like all her songs.
All right, let's take a listen. Thank you.
But here I am, looking for signs to lead me. You hold my hand, but do you really need me? I guess it's time for me to let you go. But I'll be thinking about you. I'll be thinking about you.
That's Nora Jones on 702. Thank you so much for that request. All right, we've got someone asking for You Raise Me Up by Josh Grogan. Let's take a listen.
When I am down and oh my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence.
Thank you so much for your request. And thank you for tuning in. This was 702 Drive with me, Khomotso Modise. I've been in for John Perlman today. Thank you so much for your contributions, your voice notes, your calls, all much appreciated. We do it again tomorrow between 3 and 6 p.m. For now, though, it's goodbye.
You raise me up to walk on stormy seas.
And now, The Money Show.
With Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
And DSTV channel 856.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA CIB, named Best Cash Management Services in Africa at the 2025 EMEA Finance Treasury Services Awards. Good evening. On your Money Show tonight, the Treasury DG Duncan Peterson on the decision to cut the inflation target and where government savings will come from. The SARS Commissioner Edward Kieswetter on whether he'll be able to get us another 20